With the earlier successes of Tour de Endurance in the A-League having come and gone, we now move to the first event of the B-League, where the 16 teams who failed to qualify will duke out to avoid relegation and to try and make the playoffs for Tour de Endurance in Season 6. This is a brand new system for the B-League. The top 3 at the end of this 8-event stretch will have the chance to auto-qualify for next season in an 8-team playoff. There'll be more about that, of course, more info about that as it goes along, but the first event of this B-League will be the obstacle race, a straight blast down the Scaratrax course in heats of 4. Plain and simple. There you see the previous podiums. Only Citrus sprinters in the A-League have been previous double medalists here. We'll see how these B-League teams take on this course.
Yeah, if I recall, this is the first time it has been in the B-League in Tour de Endurance, so for some of these teams, they might be doing it for the first time outside the qualifiers. Expedition Pre-Show will show us how it's done. It's a simple race down the gravel tracks, but this course is anything but simple. These marbles can easily change positions every step of the way. Here you can see many lead changes already as I'm commentating this. It's the Cherry Blossoms that narrowly got the lead, and they'll get passed straight away by the Bone Rattlers. There's a bit of a fast ending to this course. Marbles can carry a lot of speed towards the end there, so that's something for these B-League competitors to keep in mind as they get into the main event.
Yeah, the course really opens up in the last third or so. It allows for a lot of chances to come back into the race and really challenge for an advancement spot or even a podium spot if you make it all the way to the final. There you see the heats lined up seeded based on where they finished in the qualifiers and how they finished in last season's B-League for those 4 unfortunate teams that were relegated. Silly Slimes, Moneymakers, Navy Seals, and the Serpent Speeders, one of the many shockers in this B-League, line up at the back of that far lane, and off they go in the first race of the B-League. It's Moneymakers up to the lead with Navy Seals. Had a challenge, but Silly Slimes do push them to the side. Here's Serpent Speeders, and it's all chaos at the front as Serpent Speeders are pulled away. Navy Seals and Moneymakers, with the comeback at the very end, they will advance to the next round. What a race from start to finish there. Anyone could have advanced.
I think that was a photo finish for the victory there. Of course, both will advance. Serpent Speeders, at this point, for a moment, they had the lead, got back into second place, and then a bad bounce towards the end there, and a momentary lapse, and they will fall to third. Silly Slimes at the back, but it will be the Navy Seals and the Moneymakers both moving on. Now, Onion Union, Quantum Tunnels, Green Peacocks, another surprise entrant into the B-League, and the Flashfires, a team that was relegated last season. Green Peacocks get shoved to the back as the Quantum Tunnels that have the lead right now. Onion Union now take it, and Quantum Tunnels and Onion Union look like they're well ahead in front.
Whoa, look at that finish! A push from the Flashfires gets the Green Peacocks across the line, and Onion Union at the last second will miss out. That push by Quantum Tunnels was tragic in the end. It was the reason why they failed to advance. Look at this finish. Green Peacocks shove Flashfires aside, and right at the end, the Flashfires, you can't see it due to the graphic, but they push the Green Peacocks forward, and they will move on to the semi-finals with a miracle finish. What a race that was. Again, Condiment Kings now in Heat 3 with Hellclowns, Jade Jockeys, and the Woodsmen. Several surprises in this one as well. Again, this B-League is much more stacked than you might imagine, but it's Condiment Kings and Hellclowns who get up to a big lead now due to the Hellclowns, of course, winners of this in Season 3. Oh, the Jade Jockeys have a miraculous run, and they'll go from third to first and win the race, and Condiment Kings DNF. That's going to be a bottom 2 result, perhaps. That's really poor for Condiment Kings.
Yes, indeed. Jade Jockeys, what a run by them. They managed to find a great line, slaloming from back and forth, and they carried so much speed towards the end there, getting by the Hellclowns. They didn't even need to do that, but they did, and the Jade Jockeys and the Hellclowns are both moving on. Woodsman difficulties continue for them, coming from last season. And the Condiment Kings, a DNF for them, not good. But now, into the final heat, Cosmonauts, Neptune Nomads, Sweet and Sours, and the Steel Force. And a bump there gets the Sweet and Sours into the lead. The back 3 are not carrying a lot of speed in the middle part of this course. Steel Force now finds some speed here towards the end, and they will advance along with the Sweet and Sours. Back 2 couldn't really come back from this one.
Sweet and Sour's Vinegar. The previous reserve was updated to member in the off-season. This is their first individual event ever, and they've already got themselves into the top half with advancement, so very good for that first-time runner, as Steel Force also advanced. Neptune Nomads, the Captain Triton, who got bronze here in Season 3, can't make it out of the heats and is relegated to 10th place, as there you see the only DNF, Condiment Kings, in 16th. Not a good start for Season 4's host, relegated to the B-League the very next season. Really grim story there as we move on to the semi-finals. Navy Seals, Steel Force, Green Peacocks, and the Jade Jockeys to get to the medal round. Oh, that's really slow start on the top lane, and that's going to be a false start. I don't know how that happened, but I think that's fair enough.
Yeah, indeed. Those 2 on the far side, way slower than the near side out of the gate, and they're going to rerun that, and off they go now. say, fair start for all of this time, and it's the J Jockeys and the Steel Force that are well ahead of the back two marbles now. They're going to need to really find a lot of speed towards the end of the course, but it's not going to happen. It will be the Steel Force and the J Jockeys cruising to advancement here in this first semi-final. Green Peacocks and Navy Seals were absolutely nowhere for most of this heat.
Yeah, they had a poor start. I think they just got immediately shoved aside by the Steel Force and J Jockeys, who then found great lines at the beginning and were able to run away with the race. Look at those times, just over 10 seconds. It's some of the quickest times we've seen so far today, as the second semi-final lines up now. And look at the talent from some of these teams here that are in the B-League. Moneymakers, Hellclans, Quantum Tunnels, and the Sweet and Sours lined up here. And it's an even push for everyone so far as Quantum Tunnels and Hellclans lead the way.
Hellclown's a past winner of the obstacle course back in Season 3. They're looking to advance here. Sweet and Sour to the line. Will almost get them. That's going to be a photo finish for advancement here. I think the Quantum Tunnels did manage to get the win here. They will go safely to the final. But who got second place here as the camera slow-mo? Oh, I think the Sweet and Sour got them by a hair at the line there.
That is fantastic. Pennywise, captain of the Hellclowns, will be relegated to a 5th through 8th finish in the obstacle race as they lose to Vinegar by 1/100th of a second. What a miraculous finish that was for the Sweet and Sours, and their first time runner has gotten all the way to the final. Hellclowns finish in 5th place despite that, with Moneymakers, Green Peacocks and Navy Seals rounding out 5th through 8th. And now we look to the final with Malachite, Energy, Vinegar and Zinc. A surprising finalist lineup for the first event, and off they go. Sweet and Sours the only one to go to the near side, but J Jockeys had the lead so far.
Oh, it's a close battle between the top three now. Quantum Tunnels take it, but the Vinegar of Sweet and Sours will get by, and the Sweet and Sours will open the B-League in Season 5 on top with the gold medal. Vinegar, in their first ever individual event, will win gold. Who got second place? Oh, that nudge there by Vinegar managed to get them a better line across ahead of the Quantum Tunnels, and Steel Force will round out the podium in third. But what a run by the Sweet and Sours, 2 times relegated from Season 3 and Season 4, and here they are on top in the B-League after the first event.
And Sweet and Sours on top after the first event, looking like they're going to avoid relegation this time, with Onion Union, Woodsman, Flashfires and Condiment Kings off to a slower start. And of course that top 3 means a lot more this season, fully chance to auto-qualify for Season 6. A great job by those top runners in the B-League to start, but we move back.
While the Grayscales have been tearing it up in front of their home crowd, we pivot to the second event of the B-League here in Tour de Endurance in Season 5. The Sweet and Sours, a shock gold medal to start things off in the obstacle race ahead of the Quantum Tunnels and the Steel Force. But this, a team effort in the block bumping. We saw this not too long ago in the A-League as well, won by Team Mayhem in the opening event. And there you can see the past results. This event in both of the B-Leagues in Season 3 and Season 4, won by the Onion Union in Season 3, Quantum Tunnels in Season 4 here in the B-League. Record-breaking run set by Team Mayhem. We'll see if any of these lower division teams manage to even come close to that. It's going to take a monumental effort, but the Autumn Leaves will show us how it's done here in the Expedition pre-show.
Monumental effort is correct. The conditions, in fact, are not quite as good as they were for the opening event of the A-League, so getting up towards even that 100 mark could be a task today. But the Autumn Leaves have done very well in the opening round here, all the way up past 80 with a wonderful anchor push. We noticed it in the A-League event. The anchor is what really decided it. It's really tough to do properly, but if you can do it properly, it saves your run. And there you see, look how good that was by the Autumn Leaves, bunching together, traveling the momentum between each other and into the block rather than getting in each other's way and slowing each other down. There you see the run order. It's backwards from the first event. So Condiment Kings, who finished with the Goose Egg, will go first, and Sweet and Sours, again our shot gold medalists, will go last, lining up first to the Condiment Kings. Statistically, a fairly strong team, so you expect a good performance here as the standard lineup lines up and off they go.
The first marble gets a decent impact in there, but it's all about the second, third, and fourth ones typically. The second one will push their teammate off, and they can't get much into the block. Neither can the anchor, though, and it's going to be low 80s. The conditions, we'll see how this is compared to the other teams in today's event, but 82.75, especially compared to the A-League. Far cry from the best runs back then. It was not very clean by the eye test either. You can see turning the block with their third marble as well, and none of these second, third, or fourth marbles could really get much distance into the block. So the Condiment Kings, after a goose egg in the first event, perhaps a bit worried here as we move to the second run in the Flashfires.
The Flashfires with a bronze medal in this event back in Season 4's B-League. It was their first event ever in a professional tournament, and the first two pushes run great. They move aside for the third one fantastically, but leave way too much, leave zero room for the anchor, who makes contact with marbles all the way far away from the block, and that just does not leave any hope for the Flashfires. It leaves 74-65, well below the Condiment Kings and well below the mark of the A-League. This third push was particularly impressive, but look at them, it leaves those two all the way at the back, and the anchor just cannot avoid them. That really stifles what could have been a great run for the Flashfires, and they'll wonder what could have been as we look to the Woodsman in run 3.
Yeah, the Flashfires really demonstrated that you need this consistency. Their third run looked better than anything the Condiment Kings did, but the other marbles didn't leave much for them. The Woodsmen here also aren't leaving much here. Oh, they're going to get an invalid run. No, they will push it back in the block, but was that the right play? They seemed very messy in their first few runs, and that's going to be only 70.9. The Woodsmen, I think, would have been better off if they just went again and left that block out of the lane, but perhaps just wanting to get on the board, don't want to risk a disqualification. They will be in 3rd out of 3 right now, and look at how paltry some of those pushes are, getting absolutely nothing into the block. The anchor does a decent job of getting it back in the block and getting it far, but that's still going to be dead last provisionally.
Onion Union, of course, gold medalist in Season 3. What can they do with some of the runs we've seen so far? Not quite living up to the A-League so far, perhaps due to the rougher conditions. The second push does look like flip the block a little bit. The third one is fantastic. Down comes the fourth, and due to the nature of their formation in front of the block, it can't get very far. But that third push properly defined this run, and it's good enough for second place. 76-35, Onion Union provisionally in the top half, but only out of 4 so far. So a spin for both the first two pushes isn't great. Then the third one comes down. That's great formation to keep themselves up against the block, and then the fourth one has to hit the one that's too far back, can't go around, and that leaves a not great finish, but still not a bad result to the eye, despite some spinning in the blocks. Now Cosmonauts, they got silver in this event in Season 4's A-League. Several top runners in this event have already gone early so far. What can the Cosmonauts do here?
Mark's sets so far haven't been great. Oh, it's out of the block, and it's completely out of the track here. Cosmonauts will have to go again for our first invalid run of the day here, and we'll see if they can get closer to the Condiment Kings, who, while I thought didn't have the greatest runs, they still sit in first place. Cosmonauts here on their second attempt. They've done great in this event before. They're going to try to recapture that magic here in block bumping. The first two are going to come out of the funnel very quickly together, and ooh, I thought they could have got more into that block. And in fact, it's only going to be not even close to 70. 68.05 for the Cosmonauts. Very paltry for them. It was a fairly clean run for the Cosmonauts, but didn't have the strength to do that. Second marble really could have used coming together as they really could have used that to get it way further than they did.
Yeah, not particularly clean. It was a pretty clean run in terms of formation and keeping it in strategy, but they just did not have the raw strength today. I don't know what went wrong there for the Cosmonauts. The Silly Slimes come down next. They watched their record of almost 5 years forward to Team Mayhem the other day, and they've made it out of the block. They do manage to push it back in. I think they were going for the spectacular and just launching it up towards 90 or 100, but they just couldn't quite get the angle right, and it's good enough for third place, 75-85 by the Silly Slimes. I thought that was a very clever run. Of the first two pushes were very strong. The second one especially was rather impressive. And then the third one sets up for the anchor. I liked what they were going for, but they just didn't quite hit it right, and it wasn't able to go flying as some of us were probably expecting, as what we saw in the A-League. As Neptune Nomads line up for run 7. The winners in the A-League last season for this event. Surely that previous gold medal can give us some boost here.
We'll have seen some past winners and podiumers in this event not live up to that, but the Neptune Nomads look to be doing well here. Solid impacts for all their marbles, and that will get past 90. The Neptune Nomads will take the lead. It is not 100, it's not close to the record, but for the conditions here today, that's a great run for the Neptune Nomads, showing why they are a past gold medalist in block bumping. Look at how consistent these marbles were, leaving space for each marble to give their own impact. One of the marbles leaving the track there, helping them clear the area for the last few marbles to get through. And that's a great run from the Neptune Nomads. Textbook good run here in block bumping. Serpent Speeders, another team that typically is in the A-League. We'll see if they can follow up that with a good run here.
Yeah, also typically pretty strong. Silver in Season 3. They push the block out of the lane, trying to set up for the back markers, and it doesn't quite work out. They'll have to go again. I think it's worth it to try that risky maneuver for at least the first push, but now you'd think they want to try and get a score on the board as to not get disqualified. Now, marbles jumping out of the lane is actually rather effective because it leaves the marbles running behind them with a whole lot more room to work with. So getting pushed out of the lane could work dividends, as we always thought that was not a great idea. The first lead push is very consistent. It's all about the anchor, and it does actually punch pretty far, but I didn't think that was That didn't look to go as far as I initially thought. The first two pushes, that is, but it's an 80.60 for the Serpent Speeders. Good enough for third place, and in these conditions, that might be a very good result for the Serpent Speeders. It's all we have to wait and find out. Well, those first two, pretty solid. Third one comes down, getting it up into the 60s, and then the Anchor. It was pretty good all around, but just not as strong as some of, again, the runs we saw in the A-League.
Yeah, but many of these anchors with so many marbles in the way can't get much into the block, so Serpent Speed is still par for the course for that anchor, and setting up well with the first few marbles means that they're going to be in third place right now. Solid for a team that's typically in the A-League. Now Navy Seals in the 9th run here, typically in the B-League for them. Mariana leading the team. And off they go here. First marble, turning the block, doing a 180 I think it did, but we'll see what the other marbles can do. Oh, they're not getting much into the block. Second and third can't do much, and the anchor will try to salvage something. It's not to be, though. 62.3, that is paltry for the Navy Seals. 9th out of 9 runs thus far.
The mistake was slipping the block. You see, there's no clear surface for the marbles to bump into. It's a bit of there's like a track there almost on the other side of the block. So slipping it 90 degrees is a proper punish. You don't want to do that. And that really tanked the Navy Seals run from start to finish after that. As the Green Peacocks, another team, we're seeing teams typically in the A-League and typically in the B-League pretty much back to front here as the Green Peacocks coming down with Pheasant subbed in for this event. And they immediately set the block up by lining it out of the lane. Will this work out? It did not work out at all. And they are knocked out the block in just 2 marbles that was. And they will have an invalid push. Again, worth it to go for the first one, but will they go for it again or attempt to just get a run on the board as they line up for the second run? Again, 3 tries as per usual.
Green Peacock subbing in Pheasant, the reserve here. They really tried to go for it in the first run. Second one, probably going to try to keep it safe though. Solid impact for the first two. For the first marble, second and third are going to come together, and it's a decent anchor here. It's going to be shy of 80. It's going to be mid-pack for the Green Peacocks, but that's good enough for 4th place actually, out of 10 runs. In the A-League, that would not have been that good here because of how good the conditions were in that event. But here in the B-League, this is just shy of the podium provisionally.
I do believe Neptune Nomads, with the talk about the conditions, I do believe their run in the A-League wouldn't have even been good enough for a top 5 finish. So it just goes to show that these conditions are truly tough so far. But we still have 6 runs to go. Maybe they'll put up some spectacular performances up toward the hundreds. The Moneymaker's coming down now. They do knock it out of the lane again, perhaps setting up for later on. And it hasn't worked out so far today, and it still doesn't work out here. The thing that came down together, it could have worked out with the second marble, but the third one just gave it a bit too much power, knocked it out of the lane. Invalid pushes all around for the B-League competitors here, as Moneymakers line up for run 2, seeing if they can actually just get a score on the board here. It's a good first push. Second and third one now taking their time. They do come down together again, but the third one leaves some space, and that really was not too much power until the anchor. The anchor saves the run there, leaving plenty of space. Did his teammates, but it's only good enough for 8th place in the low 70s. Moneymakers would have wished they could have done a bit better there, just in terms of raw strength.
Yep, the anchor saves them from last, but the first few marbles left much to be desired for the Moneymakers. Even in their first attempt, trying to go for it. Many of these teams trying to go for the great maneuvers that we saw in the A-League. It's really not panning out though, maybe due to the conditions, but maybe due to these teams just not being able to pull it off here. The Hellclowns will try to do so here, or perhaps try to do a clean run, but it's a great first push from their first marble. And the third one, oh, that's going to be an invalid run from their anchor, pushing it out of the lane just barely in their final attempt here, in their final marble. So they're going to have to go again. We typically see the block getting pushed out, perhaps intentionally for the earlier marbles, but not that much with the last marble. So the Hellclowns, that was definitely a mistake from their last marble. We'll have to see them try to recover it in their second run.
It's a great opening push as everyone's starting to come down together. They all come down one at a time, do the Hellclowns, and they push it up well past 85. That is going to be, I believe, second place. Yes, second place for the Hellclowns with an 86-20. Perhaps the anchor wasn't a mistake and they just realized we can do better than this, and they decided let's give it another try, knocking it out of the lane, and it worked out very well. They all came down pretty much in single file, and that left everyone close to the block. It kept momentum going, and it worked very well. A swarm attack seems to work very well. We don't see it very often because it's very hard to pull off, but Hellclowns, second place for now with 4 runs to go. It's going to be a confirmed good result, at least for them, as Jade Jockeys head into the final 4, and it's a good opening push. Second one comes down with a lot of speed, but can't quite meet the block very well. Third one knocks themselves out of the lane. The anchor is able to push it. Oh, I thought it was going to be invalid for a second there, but they do keep it in the lane for a 73, but only 9th out of 13. Maybe they almost wanted to make it invalid, but it is good enough only for 9th, and they did flip the block. That probably caused some issues as well, but Jade Jockeys will be hoping for a bit better, I think.
That final push, critical for getting it back in the lane there for the Jade Jockeys. And it's going to be a mid-70s run, not the best from the J-Jockeys, but we'll see in the final 3 runs. It's getting closer and closer to a Neptune Nomads gold medal here in block bumping. The Steel Force, our bronze medalists from the first event, will try to do them better here. Second and third are going to come quickly here, and the anchor is set up nicely with marbles out of the way.
Oh no!
And that's going to get past 80. Oh, but it's invalid. Just about, that's invalid. Steel Force, I thought that was in the block. Oh, it was a trick of the eye there. But that is out of the track, and they will have to go again. Heartbreak for Steel Force.
And that was a very good push too. They're going to be kicking themselves after that. Can they repeat, or have they used all their strength in the first run? The fourth push didn't seem to go as far there. Third one coming down as the third marble. Oh, it doesn't. There's not much raw strength in this one at all for Steel Force. The anchor does save the run a little bit. It was a good finish, but they were just too far gone by that point. It's only good enough for 13th place. Out of 14 so far for Steel Force, 68 flat. They're going to be kicking themselves. Would have been up towards the top 5 had they just maintained their first run and kept it in the block. But it is not to be, and they're going to be in a real poor result after this event.
Yeah, if you notice the key differences between this run and their last, in the first run, their marbles were very much out of the way and they had a clean push into the block to get it far. But for the second one, all in the way there, Steel Force going to get a very poor result in this event. Quantum Tunnels, winners in the B-League in this event last season. We'll see if they can replicate that here. Oh, it's not looking like it. Marbles in the way of each other, flying all over the place. Mid-60s for the Quantum Tunnels. That is second to last here, but a 63.1 really did not pan out for the Quantum Tunnels, defending winners in this event in the B-League. And yep, Quantum, where did this go wrong? You can see the second and third marbles really just getting all their energy into their teammates and not into the block. The anchor saves it a bit, but it was too far gone for that point. And this means the Neptune Nomads are guaranteed at least a silver here. But can the Sweet and Sours go back to back, led by Cookie here in the B-League?
What a story that would be for Sweet and Sour to go back-to-back in the first 2 events. They knock themselves out of the lane with the second push. Third one sets up for the anchor, but he hits into his teammate, and it does not hit with quite enough power. If he had teammate had moved out of the way there, that could have been something special. But 71-55, is good enough for 10th place, and that confirms that Neptune Nomads will get their second gold running in a block-bumping event. So well done to the Neptune Nomads. Clearly one of the strongest teams in Tour de Endurance, and despite the conditions, they did very well today. So did a fair few of these teams. But look at what could have been for Sweet and Sours there. Had that marble gone the other direction, Cookie there, had they gone to the right and avoided their teammate, it could have been a proper cracker of a finisher. But Neptune Nomads, Hellclowns, and a good recovery for the Condiment Kings. A shocking dead last in the first event. They're back to their feet now with Hellclowns and Neptune Nomads, the only 2 teams to beat them from run 1. Well done to those podium finishers.
So after the second event in the B-League, the Sweet and Sours hold the lead based on a tiebreaker ahead of the Neptune Nomads and the Hellclowns. Actually, Sweet and Sours and Nomads tied exactly. Quantum Tunnels in 4th place. After this, we go back to the A-League for the 5th event, the Hubelino Pursuit.
As the Tour de Endurance A-League looks more and more like a Grayscales versus the rest scenario, we look back to the B-League for Event 3, the crown jewel of Tour de Endurance for a second time this season, the Funnel Classic. Sweet and Sours, Neptune Nomads and the Hellclowns at the 2 events on a 3-way tie with 31 points for the lead, and those 4 teams at the bottom need to get a move on now if they're going to avoid those 4 relegation spots and not be in that battle. Of course, 14 funnels here, the biggest funnel course of the season, and there are your previous podiums. Some marbles to watch out for are always Pavo with 2 medals, Ronald with 2 medals, Mustard and Atomic, both who have a gold. But of course, every coach wants to win this event and has put in their best funnel performer to try and get that wonderful medal in this event.
Also, some news from the stewards room for the Funnel Classic. The record set in the A-League by the Grayscales has been rescinded, and Milk of the White Knights record has been restated for this event. So how it will work is that it is the biggest margin from 1st to 2nd that will get you the record. It's about a 40-second win margin for Milk, which is the current record that has been reinstated. So looking at the expedition run, you all know how this works. 8 marbles go down to try to last the longest here, and the best 4 marbles will advance on to the final, and they'll do it all again until we have 1 winner. We'll speed up the footage a little bit, but here the expedition pre-show teams love showing us how it's done. They all know how this works. Going down this course of orange and green funnels, 1 green funnel in the middle can make you can give you opportunity to come back in the middle of the course, and then of course the green funnel at the bottom is your last chance to make a comeback.
Of course, the green funnel in the middle is very different. It does provide some very strange angles of attack. You do go, it's a bit angled, so you fly all over the place in that funnel. There's a lot less control. Whereas in that bottom green funnel, you can see the Sky Dragons there. They're able to keep themselves up due to a much more circular momentum, and it's much easier to keep going in that bottom funnel. We've got 5 fighting for the win here, although it is very quick and a bit tough to follow. As we slow down for the end of it, Team Cameo look to form through, but they avoid it thanks to Ash Risers. Now they're pushing ahead of everyone, in fact, as Royal Blues and the Autumn Leaves fight together, and there's contact. Royal Blues will get the win of the race here, but only in a scenario where this was a heat, only the top 4 would advance. In Royal Blues here, they're not going to break any records. That 42nd win by Milk of the White Knights, which was set back in Season 4 in that miraculous run. If we see that beat today, it would be quite the shock after it was just reinstated for Milk. And here you see the contact that really sold it for the Royal Blues, as Team Cameo were just pushed pretty much straight into the gap, bumping the Royal Blues out from a contact with the Autumn Leaves. It was an 11-second win, and those top 4 would have advanced, but there you see the heats lined up. Sweet and Sours and the Hell Clowns are both in Heat 1, while Neptune Nomads are in Heat 2. Those are the 3 championship leaders, 10 points clear of 4th place. How will the championships shake out after this event? Here's the first heat lined up.
And Mustard of the Condiment Kings, another marble to watch out for, past winner in the A-League in this event. And off they go here to start things off in the Funnel Classic here in the B-League. And it looks like Onion Union has a poor arc. Navy Seals also look like they're going to fall on through first. Onion Union will drop on through. Then it's the Hell Clowns. Navy Seals also drop on through. Then Silly Slimes up on top. Sweet and Sours, one of those teams high up in the standings, are there, but actually the Cosmonauts will take the lead. They're a team in the relegation zone, so advancement here would be critical for them to try to get out of it. Still, of course, only the 3rd event, but they have now joined the Onion Union and the Woodsmen, another team in the relegation zone, and now 2 teams in that bottom 4 have the top 2. Woodsmen drop on through into the orange. Now Cosmonauts, the only team in the funnels out in the translucent funnels up top, and they will join the Woodsmen here, trying to make contact. Are the Woodsmen? They can't do it. Cosmonauts will hold the lead.
It's been a good run by the Onion Union. After a poor start, they've gotten back up into the provisional top 4 of the race. Silly Slimes have struggled the entire race so far. Slippery, the captain, about to slip into the green funnels, and there's Navy Seals and Condiment Kings who join them. Condiment Kings will come on through first into the green funnels, but there's many marbles right behind them, so they shouldn't be in too much trouble just yet. There's plenty of chance to come back into the race. Cookie from the Sweet and Sours and the Hell Clowns, Ronald, both previous medalists in funnel events, were fighting for it, but then Allium of the Onion Union also gets involved. Now Ronald has the lead of the race. 2 medals in the Funnel Classic back-to-back in Season 3 and 4, doing very well here, but 7 of the 8 marbles are in the green, while Cookie tries to stretch that lead. It's chaos in the middle, but the Woodsmen come on through first. A fall from grace in the green funnel, and Silly Slimes can't get much going, and then suddenly Ronald's come on through. It's chaos in the green funnel, but Condiment Kings are having a great comeback, as are the Onion Union.
With how tightly this pack is, that green funnel really ruined a lot of the races, at least so far. Still a chance to come back, but now almost everyone is packed into those 2 orange funnels after the first green. Meanwhile, Sweet and Sours, one of the teams that did have an early advantage, able to hold on to it, and they're going to join the Onion Union. Those 2 have the lead right now. Onion Union will actually shove them aside, and they will take the lead. Meanwhile, down below, we have our first entrance into the green funnel. The Navy Seals are there. Cosmonauts, also a team fall from grace, and the Sweet and Sours somehow have also joined it. But so many teams are now circling around the event horizon here. 6 teams in the green funnel. No one has fallen on through yet. Navy Seals look to be falling on through. They need some contact here to stay alive. Will they stay alive? It's tough to tell. But meanwhile, Onion Union will hold on for the lead in the orange funnel.
Looks like Hell Clowns and Onion Union are going to skip around the pack. The Sweet and Sours come on through first, a fall from grace in the second half of the track. They will get dead last in the first heat. There are 5 brawling around that horizon, contacting with each other, pushing and shoving, trying to avoid it. Woodsmen come on through, Condiment Kings come on through, and Silly Slimes just can't complete the comeback. But Navy Seals, what a push to get 4th place. They will move on to the final with Ammo the Reserve. Ronald comes on through in 3rd place, taking their time in the gap, but they do eventually come on through, and Allium of the Onion Union and the Cosmonauts will make it through. Cosmonauts look to win the race, and they do. Well done to those 4 teams. It's a great comeback by the Navy Seals and Cosmonauts in particular. Hellclowns and Onion Union were always toward the top of the race, but what on earth happened to the Sweet and Sours in particular? Cookie falling from first to last in the second half of the course.
Yeah, it all seemed like it went back to front in the second half here. Cookie was in such a good position, one of the only marbles that managed to keep that advantage early on, but it all fell through for them at the end here. Navy Seals, meanwhile, complete opposite for them. They were in one of the worst positions here in the green funnel, but everyone piling on through, man, there was such an opportunity to make contact, and they managed to go on to the final. Now on to the second heat. Steel Force down to the Jade Jockeys here. to see if these teams can learn from that first heat and how chaotic it was. Some teams maybe trying to save more energy, not try to get a huge advantage early on and try to push towards later in this heat. But off we go here. J Jockeys look to be in a decent position. Moneymakers, also a past medalist in this event, look like they're in the best position here. Same can be said for Atomic of the Quantum Tunnels, winner of this event in the B League last season, but they will drop on through. Meanwhile, one of the marbles, Serpent Speeders, already in the second orange funnel before anyone enters the first, but now they're joined by a couple of marbles here.
Now marbles to look out for, of course, Pavo, several medals in the A-League, the final classic. You've got Atomic, who is the, as mentioned, the medalist of this, gold medalist of this event last season. And another talking point is interesting, the J Jockeys have put in Malachite to this event rather than Emerald. Emerald, after their crash in the final classic in the qualifiers, getting them dead last, they've been subbed out for the final classic, and Malachite's getting a run here. It's not going well though, they're in the last place, first marble into the green funnel, perhaps not panning out so far, but of course it's still a very close pack with everyone only 3 orange funnels away, and 7 speeders do join them. Finance and the Moneymakers, a previous medalist, up in front, as is Larissa, a fantastic elimination race competitor. How will they transfer over into the classic? It's going well so far, and Pava of the Green Peacock's not really surprising there, has the lead of the race for now, but Malachite's desperately trying to stay out of that orange funnel, and they do, and they have pushed through the Steel Force, who fall to last place.
Yeah, the Steel Force desperately trying to hold onto the orange funnel in hope that some marble will make contact with them. Serpent Speeders will join them, and they will make contact, and the Serpent Speeders will drop on through. Now, in the green funnel, that's 5 marbles that are all circling on together. We have a 3-pack and now a 2-pack. They split a bit, but all of them are so close there. It's going to be an absolute slugfest coming out of that green funnel. And now, Serpent Speeders and Steel Force are trying to make some contact, but those two are in a battle of their own. They're going to have to rely on the green funnel probably. Meanwhile, Moneymakers in the first green funnel, they will drop on through, but they will have the lead. But they have a couple of marbles keeping them company in that first orange funnel there after the green. So it's all going to be a big battle here towards the end of the course. A lot of marbles in that second to last orange funnel. They're all dropping on through now. It's all going to come down to the end once again.
Viper and Carbon are in so much trouble. They need to hope for some big contact, but the Flashfires and the Moneymakers have some awkward interactions entering the green, and suddenly it looks like there could be a chance some of those teams. Suddenly Steel Force have been nudged. They are back in the race. 7 Speeders also could be nudged. This is going to go down to, or any of these 8 could still fail to make it, but if you can hold in that orange for as long as you can, and Pavo is the last one standing, they can try and keep themselves out of that melee in the middle. Steel Force come on through first. Flashfires crawling desperately, but they do come on through. Neptune Nomads, a push from the Moneymakers gets them on through, and 7 Speeders who have pushed so far, it's not going to be enough. Neptune Nomads and J Jockeys, who made a great comeback, will be the 2 who just avoid that battle, and Quantum Tunnels and Green Peacocks keeping themselves in the orange for as long as they could will advance with them, and Neptune Nomads has pushed themselves into that top 2 battle. Can they get themselves into a win here? Atomic comes on through first. Larissa and Pavo fighting for just the bragging rights of winning Heat 2 here, crawling around the opening, trying to keep themselves out of that gap. They slow to a crawl, and Pavo gets up in front. They will win the race. Larissa, Atomic, and Malachite will advance with them. What a race that was. Serpent Speeders and Steel Force in particular, they gave it their all to try and come back, and Viper got so close, but it just wasn't enough in the end. But those top 4, great job to get to the final.
And what a battle between our first 2 marbles here in this heat. Larissa, a substitution, another one for the Neptune Nomads. Oceanus, the reserve member, medaled in this event last season, but after a poor result in the qualifiers, they were subbed out for their elimination race marble. But they were eclipsed by Pavo, one of the best in the business in this event. And meanwhile, Serpent Speeders will get the best of the rest. Sweet and Sours, one of the teams in the top of the standings, gonna get dead last here. Woodsman also 14th, already in the relegation zone. It's not looking good for a team in their sophomore season. But now we get ready for the final. Medals at stake here. Even if it's the B League, it is the Funnel Classic, so very coveted are these medals, and especially that gold. But Navy Seals, Hell Clowns, Quantum Tunnels, Onion Union, Neptune Nomads, Green Peacocks, Cosmonauts, and the J Jockeys are lined up here for the final, and off they go.
Both Ronald and Larissa are going to be fighting for the championship lead here with the Sweet and Sour's early exit and very poor result. A goose egg for them means that those 2 will be fighting for the new lead pretty much. We will have a solo leader after this event, most likely at least, but who's it going to be? Early on, it looks like Cosmonauts. Cosmos, the captain, did a good run in the heat and looks to be doing well again here, but Atomic, of course, previous winner of this event in the B League, takes the lead. Ammo, the reserve of the Navy Seals, is first fall on into the orange floor by Allium, Ronald, and Pavo, who is shouldered on through by a trio of marbles into the second and is in net last place for now. Malachite's fighting with Atomic now, who seems to lead across both Translucent, and they will have the lead after both Translucent. But look at this, it's a fairly spread out pack so far as Cosmos holds on to second place. 4 funnels spread out this pack, but Atomic looks like the early dominator in this early stages of the race.
Could they go back to back? They did a great job of avoiding that contact with the Cosmonauts, and meanwhile, Cosmonauts have already fallen down to like 4th place here, while Atomic holds the lead. But now, Green Peacocks almost make contact with them, but they fall on through just in time, and Atomic will continue to hold the lead, but Cosmonauts will try to make contact. Second time is the charm. No, it's not. They will fall on through to the last orange funnel before the first green. Meanwhile, in that first green, several marbles with really elliptical orbits here, and a lot of marbles are now going to drop on through into the orange. It's the Onion Union who will drop on through, but I think a lot of other marbles are going to join them before they will drop on through further. And now all of the marbles out of the first orange section, there's going to be a gaggle entering the second orange section.
Looks like Green Peacocks and Navy Seals have done well in the green funnel to push themselves up into that top 2 battle. Parvo especially now is pretty much got the best angle of attack out of those competitors, avoiding contact with Cosmos, who comes on through in 3rd place. Down the bottom, Onion Union and the Hellclowns are still struggling, but then there's a contact up top. Parvo will still fall into 2nd place, and Atomic, who's held the lead pretty much in every funnel the entire race, is going to have it again in the second half of the track. Onion Union are in the green funnel. They're going to have to hope for a comeback in there with some miraculous contact. Cosmos, or the Cosmonauts, is trying to upset the quantum tunnels. Can't quite do it just yet. They still can't get the lead, and it's Jade Jockeys who have made their way up into 3rd place. We're starting to see those entrances into the green funnel. Larissa, Allium, and Ronald fighting desperately to keep themselves up as these other 5 are trying to avoid getting into that melee. Cosmos comes on through, a bit of a fall from grace. There goes Malachite. It's a 3-way battle now between Parvo, Atomic, and Ammo, who's made their way up into 2nd place, and still Atomic has the lead. Every single funnel they have led, and they're trying to avoid that melee of 7 in the green funnel, but then they're not going to avoid it. There's no way they can avoid that battle of 5 there, but who's going to come through first?
Oh, is it going to be Green Peacocks? They will come on through. Then it's the Navy Seals. Is it going to be the Cosmonauts? Yes, it is. Then the J Jockeys. Can Atomic hold on? They've had such a stranglehold, but they're in a battle with the Onion Union now. They make contact. Onion Union seem to have a better angle, and I think they're going to do it. Can Atomic make one last charge? Oh, it's going to be close here. They're going to try to make contact once again. And, who's going to get it?
Oh, it's neck and neck, roll by roll, but Atomic has gone back to back, leading every single funnel from start to finish of this race, and Quantum Tunnels 2 golds in the B-League Funnel Classics, winning by less than 2 seconds over Allium. Had a wonderful comeback, got last, first marble into the green funnel, and it's able to pull it all the way back for a silver. And the Hellclowns, didn't even notice that in the melee for 3rd place. Ronald, a 3rd medal on the bounce in the Funnel Classic. It is the B-League this time. That does not make it any less special. Well done to those top 2. I don't know how Allium pulled that off, and I especially don't know how Atomic kept it going. They looked like they were going to have to settle for a silver there, but miraculous contact pushes them going, and Atomic is a official funnel beast after 2 gold medals in a row, with Onion Union and the Hellclowns 2nd and 3rd. Neptune Nomads, Jade Jockeys rounding out the podium. That gamble for Malachite subbing in and Larissa subbing in worked out pretty well, but the top 3 were on another level today. Well done to these podium finishes. And Quantum Tunnels actually, who weren't in that 3-way fight, vault their way up into 1st place with medal difference over the Hellclowns. Neptune Nomads into 3rd, Sweet and Sours fall 4 into 5th, and Onion Union up into 8th. Those bottom 4 now look to be in a whole lot of trouble. Woodsman and Flashfires, the expansion teams again struggling to get going in bottom 2. We'll come back to the B-League in a couple of weeks for Jousting, but we're going to return.
With the halfway mark of Tour de Endurance A-League behind us, we move naturally to the halfway mark of the B-League here in event number 4 out of 8. We're here in Jousting for an event that was in Season 3, wasn't in Season 4, it's back here for Season 5. The Quantum Tunnels, with their win in the last B-League event in the Funnel Classic, shot up to the lead. They're tied with the Hellclowns up top. But this, in Jousting, it's a back and forth event. 2 teams will go head to head to try to push that block in their opponent's zone here. And it's a lot about timing here. Marbles can choose when they want to drop down through from the funnels, and you want to be perched towards the block to prevent the other team from having an easy opportunity to getting the block in your zone.
Yeah, being perched towards the block also lets you actually push your momentum from your other marbles straight into the block rather than pushing marbles into each other. And the Bone Rattlers there kept themselves up against the block, which kept the Stargazers effectively at bay. They couldn't do anything to push it into the opposing lane, and they got the win in the Expedition Pre-Show. And looking at the main show, there's some heats to look out for. Silly Slimes and the Hellclowns was the 3rd place bronze medal round of Season 2, so those are 2 strong contenders. Moneymakers and 7 Speeders, 2 strong teams. And Onion Union and the Cosmonauts, top runners in this event in Season 3's B-League, so 2 B-Leagues later, they line up again. Quantum Tunnels and the Condiment Kings, championship leaders versus those who are languishing down the bottom. Quantum Tunnels get the early start, but Condiment Kings do fight back. They're now into the opposing Quantum Tunnels side. They push the Condiment Kings away to the Quantum Tunnels. They got a big chance here. They pushed back over the line. Can Condiment Kings pull off a miracle? No. A great back and forth opening heat, but the championship leaders will get the early win.
I think the Condiment Kings, that last marble was lagging behind way too much. If they had dropped down when their other marbles had dropped down, I think the Condiment Kings could have got it. But the Quantum Tunnel sees the opening there, and our championship leaders are moving on here. Now, Navy Seals and Jade Jockeys on either side here, and off they go. 2 marbles getting very quickly out of the gate. Jade Jockeys have the early advantage. Navy Seals trying to drop down and push it into their opponent's zone, and now it's neck and neck, but it's 3-2 marbles here. Navy Seals are done with all 4 of their marbles, so it will be a victory here for the Jade Jockeys. The Navy Seals in the middle of this round, they managed to bring it back to the halfway point pretty much here. They have the slight edge there, but that slight nudge from the second Jade Jockeys marble particularly is what gave them the edge. And the Jade Jockeys are going to move on to the quarterfinals.
So much strength from the first push by the Jade Jockeys that you think that might be a strategy they push forward in the event in the upcoming rounds. But Flashfires and Sweet and Sours line up next. 2 teams that were both relegated last season, one of which is still in that relegation zone, and they're currently losing comfortably to the Sweet and Sours. It's about a half mark there. Sweet and Sours each with still 1 to go. I think, the Flashfires didn't really stand much chance there. There was 1 marble for the Sweet and Sours perched comfortably behind the white block. Good strategy and good form there by the Sweet and Sours will get them a clear win over the Flashfires, who really need to get something going. They've been struggling in all their Tour de Endurance career so far and continue to languish in the relegation zone, and will probably still be in there after this event, but that still does remain to be seen. Now, Neptune Nomads and the Steel Force, they both had very good starts to the season, but only Nomads have kept that up, and they have a good start here, pushing it well into the Steel Force lane, and still with 3 marbles to go, they have a comfortable lead. Steel Force, they do bring them both down at once, trying to get some power. It's not going to be anywhere near enough. Neptune Nomads with what looks to be the biggest win of the day so far. All really came down to those first, look at that first push in particular, was well too much strength for Steel Force to deal with.
Yeah, they had the early advantage there, and they could savor the time a little bit. Could the Neptune Nomads, Steel Force first and second one couldn't do anything for them, and then last few Neptune Nomads could comfortably get them over the line. Easy victory there for the Neptune Nomads. Now, Onion Union and Cosmonauts. This matchup, a very interesting one. 2 teams that have medaled in this event before. Onion Union have the lead here. They have 1 extra marble already gone through. The final marble is going to get them solidly perched in front of the block. Cosmonauts have nothing to show for it. The Onion Union had the early advantage. They set up the wall there. That combo, that strategy is really the secret to success. One of the secrets to success in this event. The Onion Union managed to execute it very well. Cosmonauts are done. That's another team in the relegation zone, already knocked out in the heats here.
Yeah, not good for the relegation runners so far, but good stuff for the championship runners, as the Hellclowns now are one of them lining up with the Silly Slimes. They do get the early advantage. Silly Slimes come down marble 2, but are immediately jousted back by the Hellclowns. Now it's a very close game. Silly Slimes bring it back. It's neck and neck, but the Hellclowns with the anchor will get the win. I thought Silly Slimes may have just done enough there by, well, look at the .02. It was the fourth, a good chain of the 3rd and 4th marbles. Brought it right back. Look at 1 and 2. They roll back into the block thanks to 3. It was just not enough. 0.12. Hellclowns will win with a miracle of an anchor push. But Silly Slimes, they'll be kicking themselves. It was so close. Just needed to get in there a little bit quicker and hold down the wall, and they would have advanced. Moneymakers and 7 Speeders now in Heat 7. A really even joust out of the gate, but 7 Speeders have that early advantage. Moneymakers got to bring it back.
The second marble for the Moneymakers couldn't do much, and the Serpent Speeders will capitalize. They have 3 marbles perched against the block, and by that point, the marbles are too far against it. Moneymakers cannot catch up. Serpent Speeders will get the win here. That second Moneymaker marble really could have done a lot more, and as a result, they will pay the price. 0.27 for the Serpent Speeders. They will move on to the next round. And now into the final heat before we go on to the following rounds. Green Peacocks versus last place Woodsman with just 8 points in the standings here. First joust, very quick for both teams. Woodsmen now have the edge, but they have an extra marble. Green Peacocks, can they bring it back? Oh, they've barely brought it back, but it's pretty much a dead heat with 2 marbles to go. That's going to be very close. I think the Green Peacocks are a hair ahead, and yes, they are by .02. The Green Peacocks will crush the hopes and dreams of the Woodsmen here. It was very close for the entirety of this match. At no point was it ever in the other zone very far at all. But the Green Peacocks will triumph. They will go on to the next round. Woodsmen will get 9th place as a bit of consolation, but they were really close to advancing here.
That could have been something special for the Woodsmen. They really needed that. But a good 7 points will get at least something started going into the second half of the season. Down below them, we had a tie for 15th place from Cosmonauts and Steel Force. 2 teams languishing as Quantum Tunnels and J Jockeys line up next. And again, a good opening strength push by the Jockeys. But Quantum Tunnels have brought it back with marbles 2 and 3. Then comes 2 more J Jockeys marbles and the 4th one. Just too much raw strength by the J Jockeys, particularly with that 1st and 4th push, gets them through to the semi-finals. Quantum Tunnels championship leaders will bow out in the quarters. This is now in the Hell Clowns court to try and perhaps take the lead, the solo lead, as those 2 teams were tied coming into this event. But we move on to semi-finals with 2 other teams first, Sweet and Sours and Neptune Nomads. Now Neptune Nomads in 3rd place, only 3 points behind that tie. Big championship implications in these quarterfinals so far, and Neptune Nomads get the early start. Now that's 2 clear of Sweet and Sours, even game, but Neptune Nomads have much more in the zone, and that's going to be it. Yes, Sweet and Sours not put up quite the raw strength, and Neptune Nomads had a wall set up very early in that race. They move on to face J Jockeys in the semi-finals.
Yeah, the Neptune Nomads haven't done well in this event before. They have meddled in the block bumping. You'd think that translates to an event of similar strength here, but they haven't, and here they're going to get their first entrant into the semi-finals. Sweet and Sour is a team that has meddled in this event before. They will bow out here in the quarterfinals. Now, Onion Union and the Hell Clowns here. Hell Clowns, can they capitalize off the Quantum Tunnels not advancing? It's close out of the gate, but the Onion Union have 2 marbles down. Now it's very close. Oh, dead heat almost. Onion Union will get it across with the final marble. But the Hell Clowns, I think, have done it by a hair from the right side. It was extremely close, tip-tapping on either side, every marble was, and .05 the Hell Clowns will do it. I thought for a second there that little bit of advantage Onion Union might have had would have been enough to hold on, but the Hell Clowns, brilliant anchor once again, they are going on to the semi-finals.
Serpent Speeders and Green Peacocks, after a close race like that, Peacocks again with an earlier start, but they'll have to try and hold down the fort a bit forcefully this time compared to that close round in the heats. They do push back well against the Serpent Speeders and still have that advantage, and the Serpent Speeders anchor can't do enough. The Green Peacocks are on to the semi-finals, and we have our top 4 set in stone. Despite a good fight there by the Serpent Speeders, it was dead even right there. They almost had a brief lead, but they couldn't get down their marbles quickly enough, and the Green Peacocks, after that 3rd marble by the Serpent Speeders, the Peacocks set up a wall very well, and from there they kept it on for a slim victory, but a victory regardless, and they move on to the semi-finals again closely. Onion Union with that heartbreaking loss, 5th place, and the Quantum Tunnels championship leaders will be in 8th. So Hell Clowns and the Nomads too will actually both pass them. But as for who will be in 1st, that remains to be seen. Semi-final A, J Jockeys and Neptune Nomads. Championship implications here for the Nomads. What can Jockeys do? It's not quite as strong of an opening push as they are used to. How will it go from here? It's 2-2 now. Very close stuff so far.
The dead heat continues to stay tied here in the final run. Oh, that's going to be so close. We will go to the photo finish here, and the Neptune Nomads by .03. That was a dead heat almost out of the gate. Dead heat pretty much exactly after 2 marbles. 3rd marble for the Jockeys might have tipped it, but then once again it's very close, and in the anchor, the final Nomad, by the slimmest of margins, will get it done. The Neptune Nomads are going on to the final. They will join the Hell Clowns or the Green Peacocks here. Much better start here for the Hell Clowns from the left side.
They push it much further into the Peacocks' lane here. They're setting up a wall behind the Peacocks. This is already over. I think Peacocks are going to get nothing on this, and a great joust there. The Green Peacocks' 3rd marble came down at a good time, but so did the 4th Hell Clown marble. Get themselves in there and stop any movement from the block. An effective .5 win for the Hell Clowns. Their biggest win of the day so far. Moves them on to the final. Between those 2 that are fighting for the lead, whoever wins that match will be our new leader after this event. But the 3rd place round is still to come first. So very important final here at the halfway point of the season. But first, the Jockeys and the Peacocks are going to face off for a bronze medal, which will be either team's first medal of the season. So that's very important all around are these finals. Let's see how they pan out. J Jockeys on the left, Green Peacocks on the right. How are they going to pan out?
Both teams have had decent results in this B-League. No medals yet, though. Green Peacocks get the better start. J Jockeys with their second marble still can't get into their opponent's zone. The Green Peacocks with just 2 marbles here have the advantage, and it is over. The Green Peacocks will capture their first ever medal in the B-League. They will get the bronze. How did they do it here? The J Jockeys had the worst start. When you have an open opportunity at the beginning, that's a huge chance to get far into your opponent's zone. Then the other team has to do a lot of catching up, and that's what happened to the J Jockeys here. Third marble for them, still couldn't get it through, and the Green Peacocks will stand on the lowest step of the podium. But now, Neptune Nomads and the Hellclowns for gold in Jousting here in the B-League. Who captures gold here in Event 4?
It's an even opening joust, but Nomads have the early advantage. Hellclowns push back and have a much better second run. They're now in the lead. Nomads, third comes down quicker. It's neck and neck, but Hellclowns have the slight advantage. Nomads push it back, and Hellclowns can't get anything on the fourth. I think Nomads have won by a hair again, and they have by 0.2. The Neptune Nomads will win the gold in jousting, and the Hellclowns, that fourth anchor, it looked like they could have done enough. They had done enough many times in the previous rounds, but it just wasn't enough here, and the Nomads, through pure raw strength and that fantastic formation of a wall, will capture gold in the jousting. And another strength event one for the Nomads. They are clearly a team to be reckoned with in terms of these strength-based events, but Hellclowns and Green Peacocks, all these teams who all were in Season 4's A-League last season, still succeeding well in this B-League. Congratulations to those top 3 teams.
So, halfway done with the B-League, Neptune Nomads go up into the lead ahead of the Hellclowns and the Quantum Tunnels as the Onion Union and the Green Peacocks. Down below, Steel Force drop into that relegation zone. Cosmonauts, Flashfires, Woodsmen also stay in that bottom 4 spot. We will go on a bit of a break here in Season 5, but after this we will go back to
As the championship battle in the A-League finally heats up, we look back to the league where there is a battle on both fronts of the table. Neptune Nomads and the Hellclowns, 2 points between them at the top, and Quantum Tunnels are leading comfortably for the playoff spots, but down below there are about 8 teams that are still pretty close to that dastardly relegation zone. Woodsmen, Cosmonauts, Flashfires, and Steel Force are currently in it. What can they do in this event to try and escape it? In Event 5, the Holeshot Cross for the B-League. It's an event where you just got to maintain, get to that green plate. We saw it in the A-League, of course. I'm sure Raman knows all about this. He can explain it a lot better than I.
Yes, indeed. Marbles will get 2 chances in their heats of 8. The final 4 that stay alive and don't get 2 strikes will be out. So you can get a strike by falling in one of those holes or falling on either side. You want to get to the green plate at the end to avoid getting a strike. We'll see the expedition show here, and a couple of the marbles are going to fall in the holes. The other 2, the Royal Blues and Team Cameo, do get to the end, so those 2 would still have 2 strikes in hand, while the Black Holes and Sky Dragons would be down to their final chance. So remember, it's heats of 8 in the main event, and the final 4 will go on to the final, where we'll do it all again until we have 1 winner.
The pre-show will get 3 rounds here. This is round 2. You saw Sky Dragons and Black Holes lit up in yellow. That means they're on their last chance, and if marbles lit up in green, they still have both their strikes in hand. And there you see everyone cleared the course that time, so no strikes handed out. There'll be no problems whatsoever for anyone if that happens, of course, in the main show. Bishop, Asteroid, Hydra, and Veil all doing pretty well there, but now we look to the final round. Will anyone actually be eliminated in the Expedition pre-show here? Black Holes and Sky Dragons are the only ones that can. Cameo and Royal Blues are just here for fun at this point. They've got no chance of getting both their strikes. Down they come, Black Holes, plunging onto the track very fast. Sky Dragons do fall on through. Cameo and the Royal Blues will also finish the race and go all 3 rounds strikeless, and the Sky Dragons will be the only team probably eliminated in the Expedition pre-show here. But we're going to look to the main show very shortly. In the main league, we saw, I believe it was Prowler, the reserve of the Marauders, went 6 or 7 rounds completely strikeless. Can anybody beat that here today? That is the current standing Twitter Endurance record, now to be beaten by these teams, as the first heat lines up. City Slimes down to the Hellclowns, with the captain and 2 captains among them, with Pennywise and Ketchup. And off we go in heat 1. No strikes for anyone so far. Let's see how that changes.
And And yet, both of the top two in this event with the Neptune Nomads and the Hell Clowns both will make it, but 2 marbles come off to the near side. That's the Sweet and Sours, and I think the Condiment Kings both going to get their first strikes. I don't think anyone fell in the holes, so those 2 marbles with Ketchup and Tarts are going to be the only ones that get their first strikes. All the other 6 marbles will still have 2 strikes in hand. Pretty clean throughout here. Although there were some close calls for sure here across the board there. Navy Seals almost falling in the hole there. And Serpent Speeders also having a couple of close calls. You can see you can be diverted off your line that can push you to one side or the other. But we'll go at it once again. Round 2. Navy Seals up to the front, Silly Slimes at the back here.
Yeah, they all move forward by 1. So Silly Slimes starting at the front last race will go to the back this time. And Navy Seals, they've decided to rocket forward and try to get down to that course as quickly as they can just to try and finish it. And they will clear it. Looking back, I'm seeing Peacock struggling, and they do fall on through. I think they'll be the only one. Yes, they will be the only one to get a strike here in round 2. Navy Seals came rocketing forward, and I think they were, of course, given 8 marbles plunging down this obstacle course. There were many close calls. I saw Condiment King has nearly fallen through there, and Peacocks almost managed to escape, and the Slimes from the back also cutting it very close. But we got 3 teams now on 1 strike. There's the Condiment Kings getting helped a bit by the Neptune Nomads, and there's the Green Peacocks falling on through, while the Silly Slimes just managed to avoid that fate, and they will keep both of their strikes coming into round 3 here. Kings, Peacocks, and Sweet and Sours have a strike so far. Everybody else still fair game with both their strikes in hand.
And the Kings really try to come down quickly here, and they will get into the holes. They will get their second strike, while 5 marbles make it to the end. Sweet and Sours also got their second strike. How did this transpire? Those 2 teams are both going to be out here. Silly Slimes also fell in one of the holes on the middle there, and so a much more strikeful round here. In round 3, Condiment Kings and the Sweet and Sours both on the far side. The far side really seems to be dangerous in this event so far. A lot of marbles getting some close calls and getting jolted off to the far side wall. And now we're down to only 6. Serpent Speeders down to Navy Seals with Green Peacocks and the Silly Slimes, the only teams here with only 1 strike in hand.
Both contenders, Nomads and Hell Clowns, still on 0 strikes, doing very well so far. Oh, and as I say that, Commentator's Curse, Neptune Nomads have gotten a strike. Silly Slimes have flown off to the far side. They will get their second strike, and I believe someone else fell through. I think it was the Navy Seals. Yes, it was. They've gotten their first strike in this round as well. And Silly Slimes are gone, so now we're down to 5. Serpent Speeders and the Hell Clowns still have no strikes. There's the Nomads getting their first one, and there's the Navy Seals from the very back also getting their first one. The Silly Slimes are bad landing onto the grey plate, and they fly off to the far side and are out. One of those relegation candidate teams, not good. They wanted to get to the final to try and avoid that, but there's still 3 events to go here as the final heat lines up. Serpent Speeders and Hell Clowns have no strikes, and the final 3 all still have 1. Nomads have come on through, as have the Hell Clowns and the Serpent Speeders, so 2 of those that didn't have a strike have fallen off, but so did the Neptune Nomads. Championship leaders have come off. On the far side we have our 4 qualifiers for the final. Green Peacocks, Hell Clowns, Navy Seals, and the Serpent Speeders.
A very hard-fought heat in this one. No team came away with both strikes in hand after the first heat. So, lots of strikes being handed out, but we have our 4 that are advancing onto the final. Now, onto the second heat. They've seen it done once. Flash Fires down to Steel Force here in the second heat. A lot of teams here towards the middle or even the bottom of the standings, especially the first 2 marbles that are both in the relegation zone. Flash Fires are going to try to keep it clean, and yes, they do. And is that all marbles? No, I see only 7 marbles to the green plate. Who got a strike here? Did they fall in one of the holes? We'll have to see. The Quantum Tunnels. Ooh, some impacts there with the Onion Union, perhaps. They will go straight into the hole on the far side. Quanta, the captain of the Quantum Tunnels, will be the only marble that gets a strike here in round 1.
The Onion Union there with some awkward contact almost threw them into a gap as well. Quantum Tunnels off to a slow start to say the least, but they can still pull this back with many rounds to go. They're just going to keep going here as the Woodsmen now lead the way as Flash Fires go to the back. Woodsmen and Cosmonauts get further ahead of the pack while Flash Fires are taking their time, and the Woodsmen rocket ahead. They will finish the race. I believe I saw most marbles come across there. I see 7. Someone else has come on through. It's not the Quantum Tunnel, so no one will be eliminated after this round. The marble to fall on through was I think it might have been the Jockeys. Yeah, there they go. The J Jockeys after some racing with the Moneymakers there to get to the bottom as quickly as they could. It just pushed them in. The Moneymakers, they were giving them no space to work with, and that pushed the Jet Jockeys on through. There's the Cosmonauts with a very close call, but they do make it to the bottom pretty soundly. One of those other teams in the relegation bottom 4 as we line up for 8-3 now. Only Quantum Tunnels and J Jockeys have a strike so far. Everybody else doing very well so far here in the heats. And off we go for round 3.
Yeah, perhaps these marbles have identified the pinch points on this course here. There's a lot of marble close calls here, and I see only 5. Commentator's curse once again. A pretty dangerous round here as 3 marbles fall in, and the quantum tunnels will get their second strike here. How did this transpire? Oh, drifting off to the center hole there. They will get their second strike. They are done. And a couple of other marbles fell in the holes. I saw Steel Force fall in. And who was the other one? We'll have to see. Woodsman, they did make it. We'll have to see. Who was the other marble?
I believe it was Steel Force. They got their first strike here as well. So Steel Force, J Jockeys, and Onion Union all now on 1. All other 4 contenders, including those bottom 3 in the table, Woodsman, Cosmonauts, and Flashfires, still on 0 strikes, and Union also have a strike as well. Quantum Tunnels are out. We're down to 7. Union rocket forward and finish the course with no problems at all. Cosmonauts taking their time. Steel Force have come off. That'll be their second strike. They are out, and the Woodsman came on through for their first strike as well. But Onion Union came across really quickly. Let's see where it all went wrong. Steel Force, I think they just flew off on a bad landing on the grey plate, and the Cosmonauts have had several close calls in all these rounds, still have no strikes, but Steel Force are out, and that's where it went wrong. Just a poor run down the grey plate, and they fell off to the far side, and there's the Woodsman. They just could not avoid that middle gap after doing expertly to avoid the one directly in front of it. And now we're down to just 6, 3 of which, Moneymakers, Flashfires, and Cosmonauts, still have no strikes. J Jockeys, Woodsman, and Onion Union all have 1. So it's a very, 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 very hotly contended race here in Heat 2.
And off they go here, fairly clean throughout. Flashfires off to the near side, and only 4 marbles have made it. Someone has fallen in the hole, and I think that's Onion Union. We'll have to see where they fell on through, but they will get their second strike. They're the only ones to be taken out of this heat now, and we're down to 5 here. Only Moneymakers and Cosmonauts still have 2 strikes in hand, while the other 3 are all hoping that they can survive. Just one more round perhaps is all it will take to get on to the final. But here's where the Onion Union, a beeline to that hole on the far side. They could do nothing to avoid that. But now, J Jockeys, Flashfires, and Woodsman, the 3 marbles that do have a strike still, are all up to the front. They're really hoping to avoid that here in what is maybe potentially the final round of this heat.
With 3 strikes, 3 marbles with a strike running down the race, it's very likely the jockeys have come on through, as have the Flashfires. It'll come down to whoever got their first strike later in the event. So we'll see what the graphic says about that. The other 3 who made it will all move on to the final, Woodsman, Cosmonauts, and Moneymakers. And there you see the Flashfires have been granted the next round, as they got their first strike in Heat 5, or round 5, sorry, compared to J Jockeys, who got their first strike all the way earlier in round 2. So Jockeys will crash out. They'll probably get 9th place overall in the classification. And yeah, there you see just above the championship leaders, Neptune Nomads, and the other 3, Woodsman, Cosmonauts, and the Moneymakers, will advance with the Flashfires to with the finalists from the first heat. You'll see lined up in front of the course right here: Hell Clowns, Woodsman, Serpent Speeders, Flashfires, Cosmonauts, Moneymakers, Navy Seals, and the Green Peacocks, all now fighting for 1 goal, and that is last marble standing. The last marble to get the first marble, last one remaining to not lose both their strikes, will win this event. And off we go in the first round of the final.
And here they go now, marbles on very different parts of the course here. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 marbles at the end there. The Green Peacock's definitely going to get their first strike here. And who was the other one? It was the Woodsman, on to the far side, and in that hole, very close to clearing it, but they couldn't avoid it. So, other 6 marbles, all of 2 strikes in hand. Drafting were the Serpent Speeders and the Woodsman there. Serpent Speeders perhaps saw the Woodsman and said, I need to get out of the centered line, and quickly diverted their direction to get to the end there. But the Woodsman with Timber and Mutica, so the Green Peacocks are down to their final chance here in the second round. And off they go here. A lot of collisions in the opening funnel here. It's going to cause a big spread as they come down. Woodsman now leading the pack. They will, drift off to the near side, and they are done. The Woodsman will be 8th in this event. I do think they and another team are going to be getting their strikes here. And yeah, the Flashfires also got their first strike, but Woodsman will be out in 8th place.
The Flashfires, it was a very, very close call. They almost managed to escape it. I'm sure we'll see a replay of it. There's the Woodsman. They just nudged off one gap, and they couldn't keep it clean down the grey plate, and they go out. And here's the Flashfires, avoiding 1 and 2, and then the Cosmonauts almost pushed them into that one on the near side, and the Woodsmen are condemned to just 8th place in the bottom of the table. It is finally a run in the final, so they can probably put this forward to get some other good results later on down the line. But the Flashfires lead the pack now with a strike. Peacocks also have one. See how this goes in round 3 now. It looks like everyone's going to make it to the bottom. Oh, no, they don't. The Green Peacocks have come off to the far side right at the end. How on earth Did that happen? We'll see a replay. Imagine they're the only one, of course, with a strike of having the flash fires. They will go out and finish in 7th place. And there you see, oh, it was a shove from the Hell Clowns, knocks the Green Peacocks down to 7th place. That is not going to be popular with the Green Peacocks fans at all, and the Hell Clowns fans are already yelling jeers back at them on the other side of the stadium.
Oh, they are going to be so disappointed going out like that. No marble wants to be pushed off like that to get into their second strike, but the flash fires are the only ones remaining here with a single strike, as the other 5 have all done brilliantly and all have 2 strikes in hand, and off they go here for, well, maybe many more rounds of this event. I saw 1 marble go off, and flash fires will get their second strike. They will get out in 6th place. Only 3 marbles make it to the end, and the Navy Seals and the Hell Clowns also fell in that hole. No, Hell Clowns went off to the far side, and Navy Seals fell in somewhere earlier on. But oh, a bump there between the Cosmonauts and the Navy Seals pushes them aside. Lots of contact in this event. These marbles giving it their everything. They'll do anything to get their teammates out. The Navy Seals and Hell Clowns in this final 5, the only ones that have a strike here, while the other 3 all have 2 strikes in hand.
Moneymakers, 7 Speeders, and Cosmonauts, those 3 with no strikes so far. And the kind of Moneymakers streak to the bottom. Navy Seals and 7 Speeders also make it, and the Cosmonauts make it with a very late lunge after a very close call. And the Hell Clowns come on through for their second strike. They'll finish this event in 5th place, just beeline for the first gap on the far side. And the Cosmonauts, my, they have made several close calls, and there was no one behind them to push them forward this time, but they still managed to get to the bottom. A pretty simple defeat there for the Hell Clowns. And the Cosmonauts, I've been very impressed by their work so far today. They have just still no strikes, and either them and the Moneymakers did not get a single strike in the heats, and have still not got a strike in the finals. And the 7 Speeders also not yet to get a strike in the final here, but Navy Seals fighting the hard battle here, as no one around them has gotten a strike. As I say that, both of the Cosmonauts and 7 Speeders get their first strike, while Moneymakers get a slow finish, and now it's going to be just the Moneymakers with no strikes in hand. No one gets eliminated here.
Ooh, lots of close calls here. Moneymakers just crawling to the finish line. They will still have 2 strikes in hand, but they really fought it here in this round. And the Navy Seals are holding on for dear life here, while the Moneymakers also, you can say for them, they're doing everything here. You can tell they're exhausted this late in this event. Serpent Speeders, Cosmonauts, and Navy Seals down to their final chance. Moneymakers, they can throw away that advantage here in this round very quickly though. So it's really anyone's game here, as the podium is almost determined. Serpent Speeders to the near side, clear to the end, and the other 3 also follow suit. They're all giving it their everything, and they're all gonna hold on to their strikes. Moneymakers still on 2 strikes left, while the other 3 still down to their final chance. But no eliminations here, and we're already on to round 8.
That was a quick turnover for sure. They had no time to rest while the stewards look through the eliminated marbles as we go back straight to Heat 8. Cosmonauts leading it, 7 Speeders at the back, and still the Moneymakers are yet to get their strikes in the round. And off they go. Cosmonauts are rocketing forward. They've come on through, as have the Moneymakers, as have the Serpent Speeders. We'll lose 2 marbles here, and Navy Seals, the only one who a few rounds ago didn't have any strikes. Moneymakers got 13 rounds without getting a strike, and the 7 Speeders have been awarded the bronze medal for a better overall performance in the final. Despite that pretty poor second elimination, Moneymakers just rocketed into the center gap, and Navy Seals, it'll be them or the Moneymakers here, both on 1 strike to win the gold. A straight shootout now, just like what we saw in the A-League, but how quickly will it end? And off they go in the first round of this sudden death round of the Holeshot Cross. Navy Seals leading the way, well ahead of the Moneymakers. They've fallen through, they've done it! They've fallen on through, and the Moneymakers, who have done so well, 13 rounds without a strike, 15 rounds competed in today, and only 1 of them did they get a strike. Moneymakers, a thoroughly deserved gold medal. They'll jump far away from the relegation zone, as will the Navy Seals. Both of those 2 were only a few points away from it, and they will escape dramatically here. 7 Speeders will round out the podium with a bronze medal. In fact, all the top 4 there were very close to the relegation zone before this event came around. They'll get far enough away, and that battle will become less chances to escape, and the Hell Clowns will reassume first place after getting top 5 again. That's the 5th time in a row in this season that the Hell Clowns have gotten that top 5 result. Well done to all those top 5 teams, but especially the Moneymakers. What a performance. Yeah, you see the Hell Clowns now 3 points clear of the Neptune Nomads. Quantum Tunnels, despite getting last, hold 3rd place, but there's pressure from Peacocks and 7 Speeders now right behind. Iron Union go down a few, and the Condiment Kings have slipped into the relegation zone, along with Flashfire, Steel Force, and the Woodsman. It's starting to heat up on both fronts of the B-League. We're going back to the A-League.
It's officially crunch time here in the B-League in Tour de Endurance. The Hell Clowns and the Neptune Nomads are sitting pretty in first and second, and it's 20 points from the Nomads to Quantum Tunnels in third place. Remember, there's high stakes here in this B-League from both the top and the bottom of the standings. Top 3 will go on to the playoff round for the last auto-qualified spot for the next season, and the bottom 4, as always, will be relegated. We're here at Balance Battle once again after seeing it not long ago in the A-League. Crystal Pistols came out on top back then, and we'll see if these teams can learn from the many different strategies taken in Balance Battle in the A-League.
Looking at form, it was Moneymakers, Navy Seals and Serpent Speeders who got our medals in the Holeshot Cross, and previous success in this event is typically Navy Seals got silver in Season 3, and the winners and third places were not in the B-League last season. So it is Navy Seals who come into this event with the number 1 seed in form and in this event's history. See how that pans out once we see the heats. But Royal Blues and Black Holes both got 1 to the end in the Expedition Pre-Show, and fairly consistent all throughout for both. Leads for just a 3-point win for the Black Holes at 70 in Marble 3 was the difference maker, only just for the Royal Blues. But we look to, there is your heat. Navy Seals and Green Peacocks make up the first heat, and Condiment Kings and Jade Jockeys make up the last one. The Kings, interesting talking point, shocking team, currently sitting in the bottom 4. They've got 3 more events to get out of it. Can they pull it off? But we line up with the first heat, Navy Seals and the Green Peacocks.
Yeah, opposite ends of the standings for sure. And 2 of the Navy Seals just instantly go off to the near side. And 3 of the Green Peacocks are still on. And 2 of them will crawl to the finish line. True to the center were 2 of those Green Peacocks. And if it wasn't already determined by those 2 early Seal exits, it is certainly determined by that fantastic performance by the Green Peacocks. Crushing victory here in the first one.
447 is the best score we've seen in Balance Battle all season. It's just the first heat of the B-League. They top everyone in the A-League to the Green Peacocks. That is a wonderful start, knocking off the Navy Seals. As we move on to Heat 2, Sweet and Sours and Steel Force. Both been relegated before. Only Steel Force are currently in the zone, and they're going to probably stay in the zone after that run. Sweet and Sours almost get one to the end, and they just have it peel off at the very end, but as you see, Steel Force lose 1, 2, soon to be 3, all before Sweet and Sours even lose 1. Sweet and Sours will advance here with 2 of their marbles beating all 4 of them, and all 4 of them beating 3 Steel Force members. That'll be a 120 for the last remaining marble. Couldn't quite get to the end, but a 365 is still a very good score for the Sweet and Sours. They go on to the quarterfinals and have confirmed another top half result. Quantum Tunnels and the Woodsman, 2 very different sides of the table, line up for Heat 3.
We've had 2 very clear-cut victories here so far, and marbles going off either side very early here. One of the Quantum Tunnels will get to the end, and with all of those early finishers, that might just be what does it for the Quantum Tunnels, sitting in 3rd place in the championship. Meanwhile, the Woodsman, it's continuing to go bad to worse here in the B-League, hoping for something here after an 8th place in the last event in the Holeshot Cross. But nope, that finisher will see that the Quantum Tunnels will win a pretty expected victory, but still very disappointing for the team down in the relegation zone. Now, Flash Fires and Neptune Nomads. Nomads are up there chasing the Hell Clowns, the only ones within striking distance of our leaders, and off they go. One of the Flash Fires and one of the Nomads goes off early, and all of the Nomads are gone. The Flash Fires, though, they can't get very far across the green zone and close to the finish line with any of their marbles, so it might not be the clearest of victories here, but I think those 2 marbles still getting well into the green zone, that should do it for the Flash Fires, and yes it does.
Yeah, 2 clear, well ahead, 91 and 96 for Flash Fires. We'll move them on, and now the Hell Clowns have a big chance to extend their lead. It's already a big gap between 2nd and 3rd. Could become a big gap between 1st and 2nd after this event. Onion Union and the Serpent Speeders both had successes in this league so far. It's a big swerve for the Serpent Speeders. They've lost all their marbles very quickly, and a finisher for Onion Union will seal the deal, I'm pretty sure. Let's have a look. The entire bottom line, minus the Onion Union, came off to one side. There you see all 3 Serpent Speeders were off, just as all 3 of the Onion Union were passing into the green zone. So that'll be a clear-cut victory for the Union. 304, over 100 points clear of the Serpent Speeders, who cannot continue their good form from the Holeshot Cross, but they should stay well above that relegation zone as we move on to Heat 6. Moneymakers and the Cosmonauts. Moneymakers fighting for playoffs. Cosmonauts fighting to avoid relegation. How will this go? It looks like they're both swerving off to near sides. Cosmonauts have 2 clear. That's going to be a win for the Cosmonauts for sure. 2 to the end. 260 for them. Beautiful by the Cosmonauts. They will knock out the Moneymakers.
You can see all of the marbles on the near side just drifting off. We've seen that a lot in this event. Marbles perhaps playing it a bit too safe here, scared of the contact between the far side and the near side lane. That's a very interesting thing we're seeing here. Maybe the later teams will try to do more contact, and for the Cosmonauts with those two finishers, with no one else even close, that will comfortably put them in the next round. Now, Hell Clowns and Silly Slimes, the Hell Clowns, top of the table with the Nomads out. They have a huge opportunity to extend their lead here. They'll have two early losses, but the Silly Slimes all go off very early, and those two Hell Clowns getting just about to the end, drifting off to the left side, but still, two finishers, comfortable victory for them, and our championship leaders are going to continue to extend that advantage and may perhaps already have done enough to save themselves from relegation. It's going to be very tough for them to even come close to the bottom four after this event, with yet another top half finish and 318, over doubling the score of the Silly Slimes here.
Beautiful run by the Hell Clowns, showing why they're leading this tournament. Now the final heat, Condiment Kings and the J Jockeys. Variable success. Condiment Kings have lost a few. They've only got 3-1 on the board, as the Jockeys are going to cruise one down towards the end of the beam. They've got it to the end. There were 3 J Jockeys on the board compared to just 1 Condiment King. And around the end of the orange zone, it was right about, we'll see those 2 go off there. Yeah, there you go. As they entered the green, 3 J Jockeys in the green compared to just 1 for the Condiment Kings. And the Condiment Kings are going to continue to struggle, remaining in that bottom 4 most likely, as the Jockeys cruise their way to a Heat 8 win, over 100 points clear of the Kings. They are really struggling so far in the B League. They've only got 2 more events now to pull it back, as you see the best of the rest. Woodsmen get 9th place, still not a terrible result for that team, but they have to keep cracking into the top half. Silly Slimes, dead last, already toward the relegation zone. They're going to be in trouble going forward as we move on to the quarterfinals, where it starts to get dicier and more contact starts to come into play. Green Peacocks and the Sweet and Sours, the 2 green teams facing off. There's a big shove for the Sweet and Sours, and just shoves off half the Green Peacocks and their entire team, and the Green Peacocks will win here for sure. 3-0 once they reach the orange zone. That was over so quickly for the Sweet and Sours.
Yep, 2 green teams, but it was really David versus Goliath here, and Goliath comes out on top. Green Peacocks, their last 3 marbles well ahead. They didn't even have that great of a score. One of them going off at the 28, but the Sweet and Sours just seemed out of their element, not even close here, and they are done. Probably going to get 8th in this event. Now, Quantum Tunnels and the Flash Fires here. Flash Fires also in the relegation zone, really hoping to not get relegated for another time, but they have a couple of marbles going off very early, but one of the Flash Fires, oh, they're not going to get to the end. That could be very costly for the Flash Fires. They needed to extend, did that last marble, particularly with the Quantum Tunnels still having 2 marbles, getting close to the green zone, but will that one Flash Fire do enough? It's a matter of inconsistency for them. They need to hope that they're on enough, and yes, they have. That was close, one of the closest matches we've seen all event today. But that 115, despite not finishing, that will put them into the semi-finals. Well done to the Flash Fires.
Yes, very good. They finally stuck themselves into a top 4 result as Onion Union and the Cosmonauts line up next. It was 3-2 briefly. Now Onion Union have 2 going strong. 1 peels off late, and there's one finisher from each team. The Union lost 2 very early, but the Cosmonauts lost 1 just afterwards. Then there goes 2 for the Cosmonauts. It's closer, but I think the Union might have just done enough. It's much tougher to call this one, as it was so 2 early losses for the Onion Union, and yeah, it was really close. 5 points between the 2, but Onion Union with that 109 is going to get them the advancement. So close, they're under the top 4 results. Hell Clowns and J Jockeys lining up in quarterfinal D. If you remember these 2 in season 3, they both struggled dramatically, not against each other in the quarterfinals, but it looks like they're going to do similar. They all come off to the far side, and near side do 3 of each team, and I think the 1 of each, but the Jockeys had 4 on the board as 3 of the Hell Clans came off. I think that might just be enough.
Yeah, it should be. The Hell Clowns had the best individual marble, but all 4 of the J Jockeys getting on the orange section, while the Hell Clowns only had 1, and you can see it in the total. Comfortable victory, pretty much, for the J Jockeys. Consistency really helping them there, and the Hell Clowns, our championship leaders, will get, I think, their worst event of this B League, or one of their worst events, in the 7th place. Cosmonauts will get the best of the rest. Quantum Tunnels also high up the standings. They get 6th place. But now on to the semis. Green Peacocks and the Flash Fires. The Flash Fires really need this to try to get out of relegation, but they have 2 marbles. 3 marbles go off to the near side, and I think it's done with those 3 Green Peacocks getting to the close to the end, and that 1 Flash Fire, I don't think that will bring them back enough. It's inconsistent once again for the Flash Fires, like what we saw in their quarterfinal. And the Green Peacocks, I think they just had too many marbles up there. Even if none of them could get to the end, this is going to be a victory for the Green Peacocks. But only by 16 points. The Flash Fires, at 130, they did everything they could. Just about not enough, though, for them.
It was an impressive curl back to the center. They looked like they were going to swerve off with the Peacocks, but they curled back. It just wasn't enough getting the finisher. As the Onion Union and the Jockeys line up for the second semi-final, the Jockeys seem to be better at the start, but again, the Union, they seem to have that strategy of getting one way up ahead and just having it go as far as they can. At about this point, it's 3-2. Now it's 2-2, and then there goes the second and the third and fourth Jockeys. I think the Union again have just done enough, but it was all madness at the front, and there you go, by 23 points. The Onion Union and the Green Peacocks will face off in the final. Jade Jockeys again cannot crack themselves into those final top 2 spots. They will face Flash Fires for the bronze. And we'll see how that all pans out. Of course, Jockeys have secured a medal already. The Green Peacocks also have won. I think every team here but the Flash Fires have secured a medal in these games so far. We'll see if they can secure their first here in the 3rd place round.
Flash Fires and J Jockeys here. Flash Fires down below. They really need this more to get out of relegation. They'll have a couple of marbles go off early, and one of the J Jockeys will push themselves. Won't get to the end, but I think they've done enough. You can see all those marbles bunched up in that upper right. Really looking to see what the totals are going to be here. But I think the J Jockeys, with that one marble getting way further than all of the other marbles that just peeled off very early, the J Jockeys will capture bronze here comfortably as well. By 80 points, they will stand on the lowest step of the podium. And now we get ready for the final. And interestingly, we're seeing a substitution here. Shen not wanting to face the Onion Union. They'll sub in the reserve Pheasant for this final. We'll see how that works out for them.
As the 2 finalists line up, both of them have subbed in their reserves now, with Calcott's been in it all event, but Pheasant lines up with the Peacocks. How will this pan out for the gold medal in bounce battle? And down they come. It was clean out of the stable, then they start swerving. There are 3 Unions still on the board. Still on the board are the Onion Union. It was 3-2, all in the orange section, with the Union with the 3. I think they've done enough as the Peacocks had their 2 peel off a little bit too early. They just couldn't quite reach the green. And 3 Union comfortably in the green. I think they'll secure a gold medal against the Green Peacocks in the final here. And yes, there it is, by over 70 points. Well done to the Onion Union. They've secured their 2nd medal of these games with a gold, and the Peacocks a 2nd medal as well with a silver. Well done to those top 3 teams. And the Jockeys have secured a bronze as well. They will clear themselves of the relegation zone. And Peacocks and Union, in fact, will start to challenge for the playoff spots with these medals. Flash Fires have started their journey out of the relegation zone. So fantastic stories at the top and bottom of the league here, but well done to our podium finishers.
So with 2 events to go in the B League, the Hell Clowns still stay up top, and the Onion Union jump up to 3rd place with that gold medal. Condiment Kings, Woodsman, Silly Slimes, who dropped in that 15th place, and Steel Force are currently in the relegation zone. We'll go back to the A League for event 13.
In the final quarter for the B League, with just 2 events to go, it is now do or die to get out of that bottom 4 and to try and contest for the playoffs. The Hell Clans lead the Neptune Nomads by 11 points, so only 1 clear of the Union, only 2 clear of Green Peacocks. It's a very close battle, the playoffs, and down below Condiment Kings, Woodsman, Silly Slimes and Steel Force are trying their best to escape that zone, and Team Final Descent would make up the penultimate event of this tournament, and you have to perform well here to put yourself in a good position to avoid relegation or go for playoffs.
Yes, indeed. Every single marble we saw in the A-League for their teams, 4 marbles apiece going down this course. Same thing for the B-League. So, really no prisoners this event takes. No matter what league you're in, all 4 marbles need to perform here, and it's about the consistency. As we remember from the A-League, you really want to perform with all 4 of your marbles. So you'll get 1 point for finishing 16th, which is finishing first in this race. And if you finish first, that is last the longest, you'll get 16. Then it goes down 15, 14, all the way down to 1 for 16th place. So it's about the consistency here in Team Final Descent. Of course, top 2 will move on to the next round. You've seen how this goes in past seasons and in the A-League here. But there are many strategies. These marbles will need to change how they impact the marbles around them, depending on whether they're their teammates or whether they're their opponents. And we'll speed up the footage here. As you've all seen this course, the marbles run it many times in this season and before, but it's a big challenge for these teams to try to conquer here with many marbles on the course at once.
Indeed, making it to the final is 3 full races in this track, and I believe it is a 13 funnel long course if you include all of them. So it's a big ask for even just 1 race, but those in the final have to do 3. So it's a long enduring event, and this event of course has been historically so important for Tour de Endurance. It has crowned 2 champions and has caused several teams in Season 3 to avoid relegation. So today it's going to do the same thing, but to a little bit less of a degree, as there still is one more event to go after this, one even more daunting than this one, as the Ash Risers have proven consistency will win out here as they get top 2 in the race. I do see one in 15th down there, and of course just one more thing to note: if you fall off the course, that does not matter. It is not a penalty point, so you will not get 0 points for falling off. It is still, if you fall off the highest, you'll get 1, and so on and so forth. So the points won't change even if you do not finish the course. And Breakfast Burritos there doing what you don't want to do. 5 of their marbles in the bottom, 3 of their marbles, sorry, in the bottom 5. Or only Cheese did well, and Ash Risers did a much better job, keeping 2 toward the top and just conquering the track. They would win this race for sure, and there you go. Close though with the Stargazers, who had a consistent run, with only their lowest being up in, I believe, 11th place. So again, consistency can do well, but of course finishing top 2 or having 2 very high finishes will pretty much push you through to advancement most of the time. But there are our heats lined up and ready to go. 2 contenders for playoffs are in this very first heat, in fact, between the Green Peacocks and the Neptune Nomads. Sweet and Sours and Flash Fires, though, looking to upset them as they line up for the first race of the B-League Team Final Descent.
Yeah, in fact, the Flash Fires just got out of the relegation zone, but they're on the outside looking in, so they really want to continue that fine form from the last event and avoid falling in that bottom 4 zone here. And they have 3 marbles still in that top translucent funnel, which is really the setter of the order here in this course. While all teams now have a marble up there, while that first few marbles now drop on through into the green funnels, into the orange funnels rather. And I see multiple of Neptune Nomads now, multiple of all teams down there, as all of the marbles now start to shift towards into the orange funnels, and all teams here very evenly matched, all of them having 1 marble apiece up top in the top 4. Now one of the Flash Fires gets pushed aside here, and after a great start for them, they're starting to lose pace a little bit as they have 1 marble down below, trying to make contact with that Neptune Nomad, but they're not going to get it. So Flash Fires with individually the worst position right now. Meanwhile, up top, you can see one of the Neptune Nomads and the Sweet and Sours. Very elliptical orbits for both of them, and the Sweet and Sours will manage to take the lead, but they'll join that Neptune Nomad right back. So that battle will continue for perhaps many more funnels here.
Overall, I think the Flash Fires have a good consistent run. Back in Funnel 5, there was a good trio of them running in 3rd, 4th, and 5th. That has fallen apart a little bit. Nomads have a couple down there. Green Peacocks are doing pretty well so far. They're keeping them up toward the middle, but there are none running toward the top, whereas Nomads and Sweet and Sours have been fighting diligently, and now there are 2 or 3 Sweet and Sours towards the top of the field, as Flash Fires, Nomads, and a Peacock falling through into the green. There are 2 more Flash Fires dancing with death down toward the bottom orange funnel. As we come in now, there are 5 or 6 dancing around. 2 Flash Fires and 1 of every other team representative. There goes a second Peacock and a second Nomad. It is still a very close game, but the Sweet and Sours have 2 running in 2nd and 3rd, fighting with the Nomads. They look to be in the best position as they have all race. First to come on through will be a Green Peacock, followed by a Neptune Nomad. It's not looking good for our 2 playoff runners, and followed by another Green Peacock coming in 3rd to last. Neptune Nomads looking to come on through in 4th to last, and they do. The 2 teams looking to upset the top runners here could be pulling it off. There's a big contact there, and it goes. There's a whole lot of elliptical orbits. Flash Fires still have 3, Sweet and Sour still have 2.
Based on that consistency, the Flash Fires seem to be in a good position to advance here, but 2 of the Sweet and Sours and 2 of the Green Peacocks still on the course right now. One of the Peacocks is going to nudge the Sweet and Sours, and they're going to be shoved down, and the Green Peacocks are now in a very precarious position. All 4 teams have 1 marble still on the board here, but it could be do or die for our playoff runners. The Flash Fires are done, Green Peacocks are done. I don't think they've done enough. Sweet and Sours also have 2 fairly down there. They'll get 2nd place individually, and the Neptune Nomads with 1 marble in 1st place here, but the rest of their teammates 9th or lower. So it's all over the place for all of the teams here. I think Flash Fire should be advancing here, and did the Sweet and Sours do enough? I think the Neptune Nomads, despite the individual lead, aren't gonna get it here. And yes, indeed, it's an upset for both the Nomads and the Peacocks. The Flash Fires and the Sweet and Sours will get advancement.
It was all the Neptune Nomads and Peacocks. Only those 2 teams made up the bottom 4, and that was where it all went wrong for those 2 teams running for playoffs. And Flash Fires and Sweet and Sours will both jump away from the relegation zone comfortably here. Look at that trio of Flash Fires dancing around the event horizon. They pushed on through pretty much every remaining marble of the Sweet and Sours to get advancement there. As we move straight on to Heat 2, notice the Cosmonauts there have opted to not run their captain Cosmos here, and have put Galaxy in as vice captain, but Condiment King, as Quantum Tunnels and the Navy SEALs will run run with them. None of these teams really super close to the playoff spots, but Quantum Tunnels are running currently in 5th place in the table. Can they jump up into that battle now with Peacocks and Neptune Nomads both falling out in the first heat? Navy Seals lose 1 out of the Translucent, now 2, now 3. They're off to a very slow start, and I think I saw one. Nope, they're all still on the track. I thought I saw one had come off there, but they're all still running as Navy Seals 1, 2, and 3. They're not doing great. Quantum Tunnels have 2 up toward the top. Condiment Kings have a trio in Funnel 4, doing decently well so far, but Quantum Tunnels are off to a flying start so far.
Yeah, the team that won the individual funnel challenge of the funnel classic is really doing well here in the team challenge, but the Condiment Kings also really coming back into this. A team down in the relegation zone have great consistency right now, but the Quantum Tunnels continue to assert their dominance with 2 of their marbles. Oh, some unwarranted contact there pushes one of them down, and they're now joining those Condiment Kings, but they're doing a great job of avoiding that contact and keeping that 2 marble lead. Meanwhile, down below, you can see it's very stratified down below. Few marbles already in the second to last and third to last orange funnels, and I see the Cosmonauts is that all of their marbles down there close to the end of the orange section. They really need to continue to spin well there, as they're very alone here with a few marbles, while all the marbles are densely packed in the middle part of this orange funnel section. Meanwhile, Cosmonauts and Condiment Kings and the Quantum Tunnels continuing to do a good job here, and multiple of the Cosmonauts have now dropped on into that green funnel.
Quantum Tunnels are just doing fantastic right now. They've got 3 of the marbles in the top 5, fighting with the Cosmonaut, fighting with the Condiment King. They've had a great run all throughout. As one marble comes across, I believe that was a Navy SEAL. The Cosmonauts have got 3 running, and also only see 3 Navy SEALs on track, which means 1 has come off. That was missed by everybody. They're only going to have 3 finishes here, and one of them has already come on through. They're in so much trouble. Cosmonauts lose 1, while all 3 of their other ones are still in that green funnel. Navy SEALs lose another. They're surely out. Condiment Kings and Quantum Tunnels look to be in such a good position here, especially if the Condiment Kings can push through those crawling around the event horizon are them and the Cosmonauts. They lose 1. They look set to surely lose another, and they do. There's 3 of the Condiment Kings have all come through together. Can Cosmonauts bring this one back as Quantum Tunnels? All 4 are still running, but one is going all over the place now. They've lost their first one. I think Quantum Tunnels will surely advance here. Second place looks so good to be the Condiment Kings. They do beat out those final 2 Cosmonauts, but look at the Quantum Tunnels, top 3 in the race. They will make it through, and looking at that order down there, I think Condiment Kings might just do enough, but it'll be close. Cosmonauts had a great run toward the end.
Yeah, after being in a terrible position for the first half of this race, the Cosmonauts with that duo managed to really push themselves forward. And for a moment, I thought they might have been able to do it with those 2 marbles circling for a while, but they got beat out by that 1 Condiment King, and meanwhile, this 1 Quantum Tunnel. What a job by them. They've all but secured this victory here, and this is just for showboating at this point. They're going to spend as long as they want here in this final funnel. Top 3 for the Quantum Tunnels. A brilliant, almost 3-minute time for their captain Quanta. Easy victory for them, but now all eyes on that mid-pack. 3 Condiment Kings from 9 to 11, but 1 and 5th. Soy might have just done enough to push themselves into the next round, and yes, they have. By 4 points, Condiment Kings will beat out the Cosmonauts. That was the real battle here in the second heat, while Navy Seals in 4th with just 20 points for them.
And Quantum Tunnels conquer by over 20 points to the Condiment Kings. They'll move on easily here. The individual favourite in the earlier events doing very well in the team one, as Raman mentioned, but a top 3 is just fantastic, and Condiment Kings were able to best the midfield battle and move on to the semi-finals. As we look on to Heat 3, Moneymakers, Jade Jockeys, Onion Union, who are fighting for a playoff spot and potentially a championship, and the Woodsmen, who are desperately trying to avoid relegation. They got relegated once in Season 4. They do not want it to happen again, as they face off with several very good teams here. Jockeys, of course, great funnel competitors in the past. Onion Union are fighting for playoffs, and Moneymakers are the B-League merchants of all time. They've won it once, and they've come very close a second time, as 2 Onion Union plunged into the orange very fast, as do several Moneymakers. Not a good start for either of those teams, as Jade Jockeys are off to a flying start. 3 in the translucent funnel, but just 2 other teams. That's a very good start for the Jockeys. They'll have an individual lead for sure here over the Moneymakers, and there you go, they've taken the lead individually, and a great start for the team, as Onion Union have lost a marble. They've come out in funnel 8, has Vidalia, and now Onion Union just racing with 3, already at an innate disadvantage here.
Yeah, the Onion Union already had a poor start. Despite that DNF, they're going to go crashing off, and the Onion Union really need to bring this back with their 3 marbles still on track right now. Meanwhile, Jade Jockeys have the top 3 right now, as one of the marbles will join 2 other marbles from 2 other teams, and the Woodsmen seemed mired in the mid-pack. They had a good start as well, did the Woodsmen, but now starting to fall back a little bit. Onion Union, oh, they're continuing to descend down, and they need at least 2 of their marbles to really push forward and beat out many of these marbles high in the mid pack and in the top. But the J jockeys look to be undeterred right now, with 2 of their marbles fighting with that Onion Union. Looks like they'll beat them out. Yes, they will. And the Moneymakers also have 2 marbles. It's a whole gaggle of marbles in that final orange funnel. And now they're all peeling on into the green funnel. Who's going to drop on through here? Onion Union looks like time is running out for them, but it's a close battle between, I think, the Moneymakers and the Woodsmen for that second place. J jockeys, as long as they don't fumble too much from this point, they should have easy victory here.
Union have already lost a marble out of the finishes. They've gotten bottom 2 in the race. They should be pretty much doomed to miss out because of that. Moneymakers will lose the next one, followed by a Woodsman. It's going to be very close for that second place spot. Union use again and again. All the Union are already finished. Moneymakers lose another one. It's going to be close now. J jockeys have finally lost their first marble. There goes a Woodsman. We've just got 7 marbles running, 3 of which are the jockeys. Now it's down to 2 Moneymakers. They've all got 2 left. Woodsman come on through. There go another Moneymaker. It's now 2 jockeys, 1 Woodsman and 1 Moneymaker, as 1 jockey is just clear out in front. Come on through for 4th place as an individual for the jockey, and the Woodsman come on through in 3rd. Moneymakers will get 2nd. I don't know if they'll be able to push for a win here. Actually, maybe I've spoken too soon. They're going to make contact for sure. Now it's a battle. This could be what the Moneymakers need. This point could be the difference maker in their advancement, because it's very close between them and the Woodsman. Onion Union just capitulated in the green funnel. I don't think they got a single marble in the top 10 individually between the jockeys and Moneymakers here, trying to get the win. I think jockeys have done well enough to advance for sure, but the Moneymakers, this could be the point to get them over the line compared to the Woodsman. Jockeys have gone around and they have fallen on through. The Moneymakers was that win, just enough to beat out the Woodsman. It's going to be very close.
Oh, the Woodsman had more consistency. I saw with how dense it was around that final green funnel. It was like a merry-go-round, and the Woodsmen were doing brilliant of using that contact to get high up with their 3 marbles. But it's not going to be enough based on the tiebreaker. That victor of the Moneymakers will push them based on the tiebreaker into the next round. The Woodsmen had the consistency, but the Moneymakers had the individual victory, and their other marbles did just about enough to give them enough points here to get 38 points, and that's all they need to move on. Heartbreak for the team in the relegation zone, but the Moneymakers will march on into the next round, and 1 more heat to go before we go on to the follow rounds between the Silly Slimes, Serpent Speeders, Steel Force, another team down in the relegation zone, and meanwhile the Hellclowns on the opposite end, they're up there in 1st place, and off they go here.
38 points and not advancing is quite a devastating run by the Woodsmen. That is just so unlucky. You can't help that. They'll have to try and push forward in the final to push themselves out of the relegation zone. But speaking of the relegation zone, Silly Slimes and Steel Force both dead on in there. They need to have a good run here to try and escape it. 7 Speeders are running well in the mid-pack, trying to avoid that relegation and run at a playoff perhaps, while Hellclowns are leading by a full 11 points over 2nd place, who didn't advance. So the Hellclowns here have a chance to extend that gap over their 2nd place runners, and they had a decent start. There was 2 of them up toward the front out of 4, but now it's a very much mired mid-pack. It looks like Silly Slimes have a few up there, so do the Hellclowns. It's a good start by those 2. Steel Force and Serpent Speeders, I think, have the most work to do so far, but Hellclowns are running well down below. Steel Force and Silly Slimes each have 1 representative at least. Serpent Speeders now join them. Steel Force now have 2 toward the bottom, and Serpent Speeders, there's a big trio of them in the middle of the pack. Hellclowns doing very well still toward the top. It's a very close game early on, though, as we start to reach toward the green funnel. We've got a Steel Force marble running all by themselves. That could be a problem for the relegation fodder team.
Now, I've talked plenty about the relegation zone, but the Hellclowns sitting comfortably in 1st place. If they do well enough in this event, they could potentially almost clinch a top 3 spot here and go straight to the playoffs after this event. But they still have a lot of work to do to ensure that. Meanwhile, many marbles down below. 3 Steel Force, 4 Steel Force. No, that's one of the Serpent Speeders, but still 3 Steel Force in that final green funnel. They need to do a huge job here in this final green funnel to avoid getting knocked out here. One of their marbles is up in 1st, but they need a lot of help from their teammates if they want any chance to move on. But it's a whole gaggle in that final green funnel. Over 10 marbles there, and 1 of the Silly Slimes will drop on through 1st. Then it was 2 of the Serpent Speeders. It's all falling apart for them. 3 of the Serpent Speeders, and I think that's done for them. The Steel Force are doing a comeback here with 2 of their marbles. They're still in there, and they're using that contact to perfection here, and I think the Steel Force have brought it back beautifully with 3 marbles in the top 5. The other 2 marbles are made up of a Hellclown and a Serpent Speeder, who surely has not done enough for their team. The Hellclowns are mired in the mid-pack, so it's going to be a battle between them and the Silly Slimes, while the Steel Force, after being in a terrible position for the earlier part of this heat, have absolutely brilliantly made a comeback here. And a victory lap, I imagine, by this 1 Steel Force. After being in a very precarious position, their teammates did what they needed to do, and they're going to move on and desperately need advancement for the last place team in the B-League.
That was a miraculous comeback by Steel Force. Well done. That one marble pulled miles ahead and just let his teammates pull off the comeback. Alloy with a great win. Carbon and Zinc pulled through between Hellclowns and Silly Slimes because Step and Speed has just capitulated. 13th, 14th, 15th. They're going to crash out for sure here. As for who got second place, the Hellclowns have pushed through by just 5 points. That's Silly Slimes, dead last runner in 1 point for Marble 4 will push them out of the round and possibly further into the relegation zone. But Steel Force have pushed themselves. Good run there for the Silver team. They pushed themselves to the edge in that green funnel. They will try and make a run out of the relegation zone today. But Hellclowns advancing while everyone around them failed to. They could have a run at potentially getting straight through to the playoffs here in the semi-finals. But looking at the Woodsmen, look at that, 38 points, a full 8 points clear of 10th place Neptune Nomads. So unlucky, and Onion Union running in 3rd place. They can only muster 16th here as we move on to the semi-finals. And what a red semi-final this is. Flashfires, Condiment Kings, Hellclowns, and the J Jockeys who stick out in this one. As we run in semi-finals, this is where it starts to get a lot more dicier, perhaps some more danger from these competitors as they start to get tired from the heats. Condiment Kings look to be a slow start. 2 or 3 have already come on through. Flashfire's off to a flying start. Look at that, 3 of them now in the top funnel. A very early top 3 for the Flashfires that could all still fall away. That does bode very well. Oh, and look at that, the Condiment Kings have already come off the track at just funnel 4. They've lost a marble and already at a disadvantage.
The Condiment Kings and the Flashfires are 2 marbles in direct competition in the B-League right now to avoid relegation here. The Flashfires are just about outside the relegation zone, but the Condiment Kings are in it. And with that one loss for the Condiment Kings, the Flashfires will be feasting with this one right here as long as they can advance and hold this advantage. They've had great start in this heat. The J Jockeys were in a poor position early on with 3 of their marbles now that have recovered nicely, and it's a very tight pack. All the marbles separated by just 5 funnels here, the 15 marbles that are still running here. Now one of the J Jockeys will drop on through with one of the Flashfires, who they're starting to fall apart a bit, are the Flashfires. They really need to recoup themselves, while the other 3 Condiment Kings are doing a brilliant job to make up for lost time here as they're all circling towards the top of the course right now. Meanwhile, Flashfire, J Jockeys, all 4 of them in the same funnel. They're trying desperately to avoid that contact. They're doing a brilliant job of it, but they're not being met with teammates, with other marbles joining them, so they're going to fall on through regardless. And they have now 2 marbles in that final orange funnel. It'll be one of the Hellclowns, and one of the J Jockeys goes flying off the course. One of the Hellclowns joins in that green funnel first, and all the marbles are going to start joining it now. But the J Jockeys, the Hellclowns are needing to bring this back here with 2 marbles fairly up there. Flashfires now have recovered brilliantly and have 3 marbles in the same funnel.
Flashfires are doing extremely well. They've got 3 running in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th very briefly, but they do manage to pull that back a little bit as Pennywise comes flying off the track. Every team but the Flashfires has lost a marble here. Condiment Kings fallen through in what is now 13th place. Hellclowns lose a couple. They're probably going to fall out there with the DNF. Oh, and actually, look at this. We've got, and the TTD stewards are looking at something that potentially happened higher up on the course. This is going to go beyond the finish line. There could be some more developing here. Condiment King is coming through. They've lost all their marbles out of the top 6. Flashfires have 3 still going. J Jockeys have 2 still going. Those 2 could be the ones to advance as Hellclowns really fell apart toward the end with 1 marble coming off and 2 coming through very fast. Jockeys individually will get the win, but what was being investigated higher up on the course? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's absolute chaos here. Investigating incident between Smoko the Flashfires and Pennywise of the Hellclowns. We'll have to see what went on between these 2 marbles. Oh, and some contact there. One of those Flashfires perhaps was that a bit malicious there, hitting one of the Hellclowns, Pennywise, off the course. Ooh, I'm not sure if that'll result in an automatic disqualification. They'll be relegated to 16th place, and that could be huge for the Flashfires. They're going to get an effective DNF. Does the reserve of the Flashfires here. 1 point for them, but their other 3 teammates have done very well here, so I'm not sure if that'll be enough to push them out of advancement. Meanwhile, the J Jockeys, with 3 of their marbles in the top half, I think, have done enough. And the Flashfires, by 4 points, they will still have done enough here. So despite that controversy, Hellclowns will be out here. Condiment Kings also in the relegation zone. Not going to be getting a great position in the top half right here. The Flashfires, perhaps not the cleanest of advancement, but they get it nonetheless. And much needed for a team trying to continue their run out of the relegation zone.
Yeah, and Condiment Kings are in a lot of trouble. Their direct rival, the Flashfires for relegation, have just bumped themselves away with the chance for a medal here to really push away from that zone. And the Condiment Kings might have to dig deep in that final to try and escape that zone. But we're under the second semi-final now with another team that needs to dig deep. Steel Force need to do all they can to escape that zone, or at least get close to it so they can escape it in the final. But Sweet and Sours, Moneymakers, and Quantum Tunnels are all going to try their best to try and bump themselves up into the standings. Quantum Tunnels have a chance to perhaps run at the playoffs here. Hellclowns are also out, so now that's a chance for... We will not have a confirmed championship after this event, and there will be a playoff battle going into the final as well. Tunnels and Sweet and Sours are off to a good start, one individually, but Quantum Tunnels also running in third place, but it's still pretty close. Steel Force and Moneymakers look very similar, but they're all fighting together in that second funnel in a big pack, which now falls into the third. Sweet and Sours have won very far down, as do the Moneymakers. Those two are off to the slower of starts, as the Quantum Tunnels and Steel Force are off to the better starts. Quantum Tunnels in particular look to be the favourites so far after a fantastic run in the heats. They're doing very well here as well.
Yes, indeed. And the Steel Force also look to be in a decent position, while one of them, the Sweet and Sours, I think, well down there, and their teammates also not doing a great job in the mid-pack here. So the Sweet and Sours need to do a huge job to come back here, as that one marble seems all but sure to drop down through in 16th place. Well, I think that's one of the Moneymakers there, down in the final orange funnel. So it's quite stratified in the lower half, while the top half marbles are really fighting it out with multiple marbles in the top 3 funnels right now with marbles right now. And now the top funnel has like 3 marbles now. It's all dropping through, as one of the Quantum Tunnels will take the lead here individually. They're continuing to extend that advantage. The Quantum Tunnels, they just don't seem to tire here in these funnels. They can go on for as long as is needed here, and they look to be in a good position. But 2 of the marbles now in that green funnel, many marbles now down there. I don't think anyone's dropped on through, and it looks like the Moneymakers will drop on through. And yes, they will. Oh, actually, it was a Sweet and Sour that dropped on through. They'll be in last place. But now all the marbles look to peel on through here. The Steel Force seem to not be in the greatest of positions anymore. They have one marble battling with the Quantum Tunnels, but their other teammates, have they done enough here?
The Sweet and Sours are all done. Quantum Tunnels still have all 4 running. Moneymakers have 2. Steel Force have 2. I believe Quantum Tunnels just lost their first one. Steel Force are crawling. They've lost their second to last. They're soon to lose their last. There goes another tunnel and another tunnel. Steel Force will come on through in 4th place, but 2 Moneymakers still crawling around in the top 3. Will it be enough for a win? They're coming through in 3rd place, but the Quantum Tunnels again looking like a strong competitor in the team funnel descent. Moneymakers will get 2nd and 3rd, and the Tunnels will get pretty much all their marbles, I believe, in the top half for a 2nd round in a row. As Raman said, they just don't seem to get tired. They just push and push and push all the way to the end. They will advance for sure, and I believe Moneymakers, Sweet and Sours capitulated toward the end, and Steel Force just could not quite do enough. There you see Bill and Cash getting 2nd and 3rd. Despite Finance and Coin, it could be closer than I think, but I do believe Zinc and Alloys, 13th and 14th for Steel Force, is going to be what pushes them out of this event. Just waiting for the graphic, and yeah, it wasn't really that close. 37 to 30, Moneymakers will advance over the Steel Force, and Quantum Tunnels, another fantastic score, 48. Them and Steel Force will advance pretty comfortably here. Oh no, them and Moneymakers, sorry.
Yeah, and you'd have to think the Quantum Tunnels are easily the #1 seed heading into this final. But good to see a semi-final with a lot less controversy than what we saw in the first semi-final. Hellclowns, best of the rest, they'll be feeling a bit cheated out of advancement here, but nothing they can do. They'll be getting 5th place here for the championship leader, Steel Force, a team that desperately needs those 10 points. They would have loved a lot more here, but still that's 10 points that they would definitely take here in this event. But now into the final. Flashfires, Quantum Tunnels, J Jockeys, and Moneymakers to determine the medals and the gold here in the penultimate event of the B-League in Tour de Endurance. And off they go, and lots of marbles getting pushed back in the starting mechanism, but off they go nonetheless here to kickstart this final.
Flashfires lost a marble first. Early on, it looks like Flashfires, despite losing one, are doing well up top. Jockeys have 2, Tunnels 1, and Flashfires 1. Flashfires look to take the individual lead, and yes, they do. Moneymakers lost a couple into the orange, as have Flashfires. Tunnels, J Jockeys, I believe, have only just lost their first marble into the orange funnels. Up top now, Flashfires. It's still a pretty early days for this race, but I believe Tunnels again are off to a very good start. They had 2 or 3 running well. Now they're going to take the lead. Yes, there you go. They've got the individual lead early on, but J Jockeys have won very far down there, almost a full funnel behind. Has to get some contact to get back into the race. Flashfires are running 2 toward the top. Quantum Tunnels are running 3 in the top 5 right now. Can they hold on to that and keep it going all the way to the end? This unprecedented endurance by the Quantum Tunnels has gone so well so far. Jockeys though, it's the opposite story. They've got a couple down there, but the Flashfires do join them. It is still too close to call for the top of the race at least, but Flashfires and Quantum Tunnels look to be the early favourites in this final.
Yeah, and it's very stratified. Down below, one of the moneymakers just racing by themselves, hoping for that contact, and they're going to be joined by one of their teammates. They really need to hope for their other opponents now to drop on through and join them, because otherwise they'll look at bottom two and almost certainly miss the medals here. But the Quantum Tunnels, are they fading a little bit? No, they still have two in that second to top orange funnel with that Flash Fire who will join them, but the Flash Fires with that duo, they're doing a great job here of preventing the Quantum Tunnels from extending their advantage, and the Quantum Tunnels are now continuing to descend down while all four of the Jade Jockeys are rotating in tandem, and we have our first exit, and it's going to be the Quantum Tunnels, I think. The Quantum Tunnels have lost the first marble here, and is it perhaps going away from them after great performances in the first two rounds? Meanwhile, in the top orange funnel here, it's Quantum Tunnels, Moneymakers, and the Flash Fires, and the Moneymakers will have the individual lead here, and down below, the Jade Jockeys look to be done with all but one of their marbles. Moneymakers still have 2 marbles. Quantum Tunnels still have 3 marbles. So actually, the Quantum Tunnels could still get this gold here.
They're pushing for it. They're pushing for it all the way to the end. They lose one. It's down to a 2v2 between them and the Moneymakers. How's it going to pan out? This could be for the gold. Moneymakers lose one. Then go the Tunnels. It's 2-2. It's one roll over for the Quantum Tunnels. They will win individually. Moneymakers will get 2nd and 4th. Tunnels 1st, 3rd and 5th. Surely that's enough. Bill from the Moneymakers was well clear. Look at it's going to be close, but I think 1, 3 and 5, despite the captain getting dead last, I think Quantum Tunnels have just done enough for gold here. And yes, it was closer than I thought, but 4 points in it, and Quantum Tunnels have won gold in both of the final events in the B-League. Absolute titans in the B-League of endurance have been the Quantum Tunnels. They will capture Team Final Gold and Final Classic Gold. Moneymakers will get another medal with a silver in this event, and the Jade Jockeys will get a bronze by a tiebreaker over the Flash Fires, who still cannot crack their first medal of the season, but still a good result to try and get away from that relegation zone.
Oh, and the Flash Fires are going to be really hoping that they could have got at least a medal here, but still 12 points to continue their march out of the relegation zone. They'll surely stay out of it, but by how much we'll have to see. But well done to the Quantum Tunnels. A dominant victory here in the team final descent ahead of the Moneymakers and the Jade Jockeys.
And with just one event to go, there are still 6 teams that can win it, and 7 teams that can make it to playoffs, and there are 8 or 9 teams that can still get relegated. Sweet and Sours are in that middle point. They can get both, but it's Hellclowns ahead by 8 points in the table for now, but there are still 5 teams that can catch them in the big tower coming in a couple weeks. But first we go back to
With some of the highest stakes ever in B-League competition, it's only appropriate we end it all here at the Big Tower. Hello and welcome to the finale of the B-League of Tour de Endurance. I am delighted to be here in the commentary box for not just one but both finales of Season 5. And trust me when I say that every single team here today wants to win this gold as much as their competitors. Whether it's the overall championship you're playing for, whether it's the overall podium and playoff spots you're playing for, or whether it's to get out of the dreaded bottom 4 spot where you'll get relegated, well, today's your last chance to do so, whatever it is you aim to do in this Big Tower event. And a treacherous course it is, as we saw in the A-League. The Grayscales in dominant fashion won this event back then, and who will tip the scale in their favor here in this final event of the B-League. The Expedition pre-show will go here. We'll see how it goes with these 4 marbles, but you've already seen this event before, so let's discuss the permutations of the event. Hellclowns sit at the top of the standings ahead of the Quantum Tunnels in second place by 8 points. That means any contenders that are not the Hellclowns need to advance to have any chance of dethroning them. The Neptune Nomads sit 8 points behind the Quantum Tunnels and 16 points behind the Hellclowns in first place. That means they need at least a silver. So do the Jade Jockeys in 4th place. And then 5th and 6th, the Green Peacocks and the Onion Union, they need a gold to have any chance of winning this B-League. Also, in 7th and 8th, the Moneymakers and the Sweet and Sours, they cannot win the B-League, but they can still make a push for that playoff spot, but they need a lot of help to do so, especially the Sweet and Sours. They need a gold to do it. Down below at the relegation zone, it is the Condiment Kings, Woodsmen, the Steel Force, and the Slay Slimes, ranging from 4 to up to 13 points needed to get out of the relegation zone. Cosmonauts in 12th place are on that cutoff line, so those are the teams that are down below battling to not get relegated. And as we see the end of the Expedition pre-show, Black Holes get the win there. You want to be under 50 seconds to have a great time and ensure your advancement. But of course, as we saw in the A-League, there is no point on this course where you can't get stuck or can't go flying off. So you need to be alert at every second of this almost minute-long course. And there are your heats of 4 classified in that first heat, getting ready to go. Hellclowns, the championship leaders in that one, as well as Steel Force down below in that relegation zone. Flashfire is also fairly down, although not quite in that relegation zone. And of course the Moneymakers, another team in playoff contention. And here they go in the quadrilla, lined up, and off they go in the funnel. The quadrilla in this big tower is really a matter of setting the tone here. Who will get out in front? It looks like Hellclowns from the left side get out in front. The Steel Force are lagging well behind, and the Moneymakers get stuck. They have to be pushed by the Steel Force to get dislodged. And now Hellclowns have the lead from the right side, but now it all converges in the Hublino funnel section. Moneymakers trying to take a jump on the left side as well as the Steel Force, and they'll be joined by the other 2 marbles from the right side, and the Moneymakers will take the lead, but Hellclowns crucially in first place. If they advance here, this knocks out everyone but the Quantum Tunnels and Neptune Nomads for victory in the B-League, but they're all converging in the green funnel, and they're all circling in many different directions. You can see Moneymakers and Hellclowns orbiting in opposite directions, but they're taking their time as the Flashfires descend out into the Gravitrax along with the Steel Force, and it's going to take a mammoth effort for the other 2 teams to catch up. The championship leaders could be eyeing up the worst event of the B-League here. As long as these 2 teams keep it clean, it's not going to matter for them. Flashfires cross the line, and Steel Force also crucially crosses the line. And in fact, Hellclowns, difficulty in the Gravitrax, Moneymakers will get by. The Moneymakers made a nice move, finance on Bozo at the end there. Regardless, I don't think Moneymakers have done enough to contend for the playoff spot, but crucially, the Hellclowns will get their worst event, and I think their only bottom half event of the whole B-League here. And this opens the door massively for the other teams to win this B-League. The Hellclowns, we'll see, I think the top 3 should be still fairly certain for them, but Steel Force, especially in that relegation zone in 15th place, that advancement is going to prove very, very helpful for them. And now if we go into the next heat, so much to talk about in this big tower. The J Jockeys make a great move in the funnel, now well ahead of the Green Peacocks. Cosmonauts in 3rd place. They're also on that cutoff zone. If you remember, they're in 12th place, and the Silly Slimes bring up the rear, not just this event, but in the B-League coming to this event. So they really need to get a move on here in this big tower. And they and the Cosmonauts, the 2 teams down low in the standings, are both taking their time in the first section. And did someone get stuck there? I think someone got stuck high up on the course, but they're getting free again. I think that's the Silly Slimes and yet another marble. The Green Peacocks and the Cosmonauts. 1 marble only is going out well ahead of the rest of the field, and it looks like easy advancement for that leading marble. Now it's a battle between these 3 for that 2nd place spot. The Green Peacocks seem to have it, but here come the Cosmonauts. They make the move, and the J Jockeys have gotten stuck after leading for so long, and they won't get dislodged by those 2 marbles. The Green Peacocks get by, the Cosmonauts get by, and those 2 will get advancement. And unfortunately for the Silly Slimes, finishing in 3rd, that is not going to be enough. They're going to be relegated for the 2nd time in a row at the hands of Slimeball, the reserve. But J Jockeys, what a disaster for them, leading after the back 3 had so much trouble for so much of this course. The J Jockeys will be out. They will not make the podium. They will not get into the playoffs here. And the Green Peacocks, another team just under the J Jockeys in the standings, they now have a great chance to get in that top 3. Pretty much guaranteed that they will overtake the J Jockeys after this event. Now, Onion Union, Quantum Tunnels, Sweet and Sours, and the Woodsmen here, and off they go. Onion Union are barely in championship contention, but with the Hellclowns out, it's not over for them. They could win this event, perhaps, and make a miracle here. The Quantum Tunnels, of course, in 2nd place. Their chances of winning is much greater. Woodsmen, down below, bringing up the rear in this race so far, and they need to get a move on unless they want to if they don't want to meet the same fate as the Silly Slimes and get relegated after the heats here. But the Sweet and Sours well ahead, while the other 3 are all taking their time in the funnel section. Sweet and Sours, another team that is in the mid-pack. If they win this event, I think they still might have a chance at playoffs, but it all comes down to the other teams as well for them. They need to win the event, have a lot of trouble, and they'll have a lot of help by the other teams, but they're doing whatever they can. And the Onion Union also well ahead. The Woodsmen need to get a move on here, or it might be doomed for them. The Quantum Tunnels are trying to make a move on the Onion Union, but they're losing ground at the Gravitrax, and they will not get by. The Sweet and Sours and Onion Union will get out in front, and the Woodsmen, just to add insult to injury, will be getting stuck in the Gravitrax section. And if not advancing was already an indicator of their relegation, well, this all but seals that the Woodsmen will be relegated once again. Disaster for the new team. But it was these two teams that are out in front but didn't have the cleanest and the easiest of time, especially in the gravel tracks. For a moment there, I thought the Quantum Tunnels were converging there, but then trouble there on the gravel tracks towards the end means that Sweet and Sours and Onion Union will move on. Now, Heat 4, Navy Seals, Neptune Nomads, Serpent Speeders, and I believe that's the Condiment Kings bringing up the rear in the quadrilla funnel so far. Another team in that relegation zone, but they're in 13th. They're the highest team in the zone and have the greatest chance of getting out of it. They now made a move on the Neptune Nomads into second place, while the Serpent Speeders are currently in the lead, but they are met as it all converges once again here in the funnels. Serpent Speeders now take the jump, as well as the Neptune Nomads. Serpent Speeders will now stretch it a bit out in front, and the Neptune Nomads make a nice move ahead of them to get the lead. But it's all fairly close here. Everyone is in the same section right now, and they're all going to join in that green funnel. I don't think anyone's going to get through before all four of them get in through. And I think Navy Seals made a great move there. They went from 4th to 1st in that funnel. Great use of the contact in that green funnel, and they're not in front, but they've gotten stuck at the entry to the gravel track. The Navy Seals, all that hard work is gone. Serpent Speeders and the Neptune Nomads will also get stuck, but get by. And here come the Condiment Kings, taking the time, slow but surely, winning, getting into second place. And while two marbles getting stuck, the Condiment Kings just took their time there, and despite having a 1 minute time, will still do enough to advance. Their hopes of getting out of relegation are not done just yet. A lifeline given by the Navy Seals and the Neptune Nomads, who are in 3rd place in the standings but could be at risk of losing that playoff spot provisionally. And Navy Seals down in the bottom half of the standings. They aren't doomed just yet, but 16th place, could that be disastrous for them? Salvo might have just made their team relegated. We'll have to see. Quantum Tunnels 9th place is not going to be enough to win the B-League. They'll get best of the rest. And here in the standings, Hell Clowns and I believe Green Peacocks are the only teams that can still win this B-League. The Green Peacocks, I believe, need to win gold to have any chance of doing so. And down below, there's a lot of red and yellow there for you to take in. But now, on to the semi-finals. Green Peacocks, Sweet and Sours, Condiment Kings, and the Flash Fires. For the championship, the Green Peacocks need to advance, or the Hell Clowns will be champions of the B-League. And here come the Green Peacocks. Great start here, but a nice move there by the Condiment Kings, and they're now getting by. The Condiment Kings want to do anything they can to ensure that they won't be relegated for the first time, and they now have the lead. It's a pretty big spread out of the funnel, out of the quadrilla. But now here comes many marbles. Take the jump here, taking the risk. They want to do anything they can. It's your final chance here in the Hoarder Endurance in the B-League. And one of the marbles is really bringing up the rear. Oh, two of the marbles actually. That's the Sweet and Sours and the Condiment Kings. And they have a lot of catching up to do now, as two marbles have already exited the green funnel. That's the Flash Fires and the Green Peacocks. And one marble's really taking their time. Is that the Condiment Kings, after a great start, they're well behind now. And it's going to take a DNF for either of these two teams to not advance at this point. The Green Peacocks and the Flash Fires are going to take their time, but are going to do enough to stay off the DNF and cross the line to get into the final. That means the Hell Clowns haven't won just yet. The Green Peacocks do have a chance, a 25% chance now of winning this B-League if they can win gold in that final. The Flash Fires also surely getting all the way to the final. They were great in the second half of this B-League and should have surely done enough to avoid relegation yet again for the Flash Fires. The Sweet and Sours, great improvement for them this season, it must be said, but they'll be petering out here in the semi-finals. And so do the Condiment Kings. I believe that the Condiment Kings probably have done enough to get out, but we'll have to see. Will that placement from 5th to 8th be enough? But on we go to the second semi-final. It's a fairly big spread in the quadrilla funnel, as the Cosmonauts bring up the rear here, have a lot of catching up to do, and that's a team also in danger, as well as the Steel Force, who are also in this race here. Those two marbles have catching up to do. Serpent Speeders and the Onion Union taking the right side. And they're now joined by the Steel Force. It's converging once again here, as three marbles aren't taking the risky route, and the Steel Force now continuing to take their time in the orange section. But now the Serpent Speeders will get out in front into the green funnel, and off they go here. They exit the green funnel in first. They're not really taking their time, while two marbles are colliding in the green funnel. And one marble is really taking their time before the green funnel section. The Serpent Speeder all but secured their advancement now to get into the final, and the Onion Union will descend very quickly out of the orange and blue section to get in second place. And now here comes the Steel Force. They're trying whatever they can to get by. Will they do enough? I think it's too little too late for them, and they will be knocked out here. The Steel Force, very unfortunate for them. I think that might secure their relegation for Iron. They did whatever they could in that gravel tracks to make up that ground on the Onion Union. The gap was just too big coming into that section. They were so slow for the majority of the course that it's all for naught for the Steel Force. We'll have to wait for official confirmation, but I do believe this won't be enough for them. And the Cosmonauts, it might be a bit tricky for them. Of course, they're higher up than Steel Force. I'm going to finish under them, but should finish higher overall. The Sweet and Sours getting best of the rest. Condiment Kings getting 8th, though. Condiment Kings, I believe, will finish under the Sweet and Sours. We'll have to see. Will that be enough for them? Oh, they've beaten the Navy SEALs, and I believe that all but secures our relegated teams. Navy SEALs, Steel Force, Silly Slimes, and the Woodsmen will be relegated. Very unfortunate for those 4 teams. But now we get ready for the final. Flash Fires, Onion Union, Serpent Speeders, and the Green Peacocks for gold in the Big Tower and the final event of the B-League in Tour de Endurance. And of course, all eyes on the Green Peacocks. If they win this event, they will capture the overall victory here ahead of the Hellclowns in the B-League. The Serpent Speeders are bringing up the wheel while the other 3 are all on the same quadrilla section, but now the Serpent Speeders have the opportunity to catch up. They're really taking their time though, as are the Green Peacocks on the left side, taking the risky route, but they will get out in front out of the risky route. That is why it is the risky route. It can really give you a reward if you get through it quickly. And the Onion Union and the Flash Fire is now relegated to 2nd and 3rd so far, but they're all very close in the green funnel, and there's lots of contact, while the Onion Union have exited great and are well ahead to get this gold. Oh, it's going to take a DNF, I believe, now for them to not win here. Onion Union are going to cross the line, and the Hellclowns fans are celebrating because the Onion Union will secure the Hellclowns the B-League Championship here as they will cross the line. Green Peacocks are going to get in 2nd place here as long as they don't get stuck. Yes, they will. And the Flash Fires, a well-deserved podium here in 3rd place. Serpent Speeders really taking their time for the entirety of this course, but the Onion Union get another gold in the B-League here in the Big Tower in Allium. A great performance from them. Will that be enough for them to get in the playoffs? We'll have to see. But the Green Peacocks were so close yet so far. I believe they have done enough for the playoffs. Actually, it will be very close between them and the Onion Union. So it's all, we'll have to see who gets those playoff spots. The Hellclowns, though, will be very thrilled. It wasn't in their control, but they had done enough throughout the entirety of the season until this point, and the Hellclowns are champions of the B-League. We will see them in the playoffs not too long after this season ends. But congratulations to our podium finishers here in the B-League and in this event in the Big Tower. Of course, don't go anywhere because we have the B-League closing ceremony coming up very shortly. And then, of course, the highly anticipated finale of the season in Tour de Endurance in Season 5. Grayscales versus Team Sunrise. Who you got for the overall championship? We'll see you soon for them.